Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everybody and welcome to Interlagos for another round of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship here in 2025. Just a weekend on after the real life race, or weekend or two. We are here at São Paulo for 90 minutes, the standard race distance, returning for the first time since we were at Spa towards the end of April. It's good to be here once again. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'm alongside Tom Cairns for this race, alongside Ross Smith as well, who will also be joining us. Tom, good to be alongside you for this one. Always enjoy racing at Interlagos. I think it's always fantastic. Multi-class racing as well has returned to this circuit in the not too distant past, and so we're in for another great round of the 2025 season.
I cannot wait for this one. It's a fans' favourite as well. Doesn't matter what series comes around this circuit, located in the city of São Paulo. Brazil has put on quite a show for the fans, and I really cannot wait for this multi-class event to take place. And, you know, we've got 90 minutes of action to very much look forward to. But, of course, we've got the standings, of which I'll kind of let you, Ewan, to have a rundown on.
Yeah, I'll run through all the bits and bobs at the beginning before we get some insight from Ross and more from yourself, Tom, as well. Starting with what we've got coming up this season and what we've indeed gone through. As I say, we haven't been at a 90-minute race since Spa. This is only the third of the season, but there is another three to go, including the one we've got here today. Kota will be the next round, although it's quite a way away. We do have a historic race in between now and then. Indianapolis in September, 2 weeks later at Fuji, before Road Atlanta and Bahrain, which will round out the season with a 2-hour race once again in 2025. Let's have a look at this circuit, though, the Interlagos track, built in at 1940, just over 4 kilometres in length. The orange part of the circuit you can see is really only a factor on lap 1. The orange zone that we have at the start of these races means that overtaking can be done, but if you do anything wrong, penalties are harsher in that orange zone for the start of this race. And it's quite a long orange zone here this week, 11 corners, running all the way around to that final one at Zhengzhou, which brings you out onto the front straight for the next time. Let's have a look at the keys to the race as well. And as you can see from that middle sector, you need a good setup for tyre wear around this venue. We'll talk about strategy a little bit later as well, but tyre wear, a big feature. And the second sector as well, for avoiding battles between classes. If you're a hypercar, you can get stuck very much through there in that middle sector. And indeed, you probably want to leave your battling ram for the first and third sectors, to be honest. Even if you're trying to make an overtake for position, it's just a bit easier. And of course, this circuit does honour the great Ayrton Senna. The Senna race at the first part of this circuit should be a decent overtaking opportunity as well here today. As I say, strategy, super important. Let's start with the hypercars. The cars to beat will be the Cadillac, the Porsche and the Ferrari. Should be making 3 to 4 stops this afternoon with those 2 tyre compounds at the mediums and the hards that are available. But how quick are they going to wear out? Same for the GTs. The Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari and Porsche should be the cars to have here. So that's fairly open field. the two-stop race should be the way to go here in the GT cars this time around. Let's have a look at the GT points, starting with the AMS heading into this round. And coming into today, it is Alexander McQuarrie who is at the front. This is actually the closest of the championships at the moment, which is good news for us. He's just 25 up. 25 points ahead of Peter Meyer, and then Stephen Miller only 29 behind in the GT3 AM standings. Adam Gray is in fourth place at Craig Pullen, who's got a big jump back to him. Pullen, unfortunately, has only been at 3 rounds so far. All those below have been at only 1 or 2 so far this season. In LMGT3, it is JT Tammy who leads by nearly 50 points. He has won almost all of the races he's been at. He didn't go to Le Mans, and he just missed out at Imola. But all the other races he has won, David Yunt has been pushing him all the way and has won on the 2 occasions he hasn't won. 124 points back to James Walker, with Alan Holden and Matthew Overton rounding out the top 5. In the teams, Doc Thunder Racing, Aston Martin Vantage are leading by 144.5 points. It's a very, very big gap indeed for them. In Hypercar AM, we have currently got John Mayer leading the way. He wasn't at Qatar or Le Mans, but he still has a points lead of 45 ahead of Jay Chen, because he's also missed 2 rounds. Vinicius Gonçalves has been at every round, but still 64 points back, just the 1 win coming at Imola. Eric Monnier and George Angelidis round out the top 5, with Matthew Buss next. Then Adrian Rice, who's only been at 3 rounds this season, but has won 2 of them. He's in 7th. In the teams, Curie Mistral Porsche are leading by a very long way in those standings as well. In the hypercars, it's Daniel Kirby by 24 points over Daniel Herlock in the standings after 7 rounds. Cameron Barker is next in 3rd ahead of Johnny Gutierrez, just over 100 points away from the top. And then Mike Bell and Magnus Dahlgren, who've both got 1 second place finish to their name. They're 5th and 6th for Detroit Ian, one of the only others on the podium this season. Tom Lane is down in 12th. He's the only other driver to have got a podium, but he's only been at 3 rounds so far. In the teams, CMS Pro Red Cadillac are leading by 79 ahead of the Smile Power Racing Cadillac team of Herlock and Bell, and that's 79 points that we've got between those at the moment. So it's not particularly close, I've got to say, Tom, in most of the categories. The one that is so interesting, though, I think, is GT3 AM. Just 29 points separating McQuarrie, Mayer and Miller, and 34 points, actually, Adam Gray. You can put him in there as well. A 4-way battle for the championship as we just get over the halfway mark as well.
Yeah, and there's still a number of rounds to go before the season concludes in Bahrain. Cannot wait to see how that plays out in regards to the other championships. Yeah, it may look like a foregone conclusion, but irrespective of where the drivers are in the standings, it should still put on some good racing, no matter where we go to. So either way, I'm still looking forward to this. We are currently in the warm-up session before the drivers make their way on to the grid. I think they've just finished qualifying as well, these ones, so they're just taking a little bit of a breather before the racing commences. But yeah, like I say, with the strategy playing its role as well, with the mediums and the hards for the hypercars, there's going to be a mixture of strategies, I think it's safe to say.
We'll get to the grid a bit later, but I'd like to bring in some of the other guys who are going to have in the commentary box with us this afternoon for this round of the championship, starting with Ross Smith, who is going to be chatting away with us here in the Modern Series again for the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo. Good afternoon, Ross. Good to have you with us, and good to be back for another round of the Modern World Sports Car Championship here in 2025. We saw some of the keys to the race there. I don't know if you have anything to add to those, or maybe any thoughts about heading forward into this race, because it is such a unique circuit for multi-class racing that really has only popped back onto the sports car calendars of the world back in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Ewan. And yeah, you guys hit all the highlights here, and it's such a great track to have. You know, we've run this one in a number of the VWSC seasons as usually like a test race or a pre-race for the season, or as a driver's choice, because oftentimes when we post the calendar here, we'll give drivers an option. George will post a listing of all the available tracks that fit the proper classification for what WEC or IMSA would run, and so drivers are welcome to choose. And Sao Paulo is often a driver favorite. You know, it's It's pretty open. It's not overly complicated, although to master this place, especially around that second sector, like you said, it can be really tricky, and you definitely need to look after your car, get a good setup in place that's going to work through the long run, because like you said, those tires heat up and you really need to hold on to them until you can get in there and get some fresh rubber on.
Let's chat as well to a driver who has been there and done it in 2025 as well, Jamie Zalecki. GT3 driver this season in 2025. Unfortunately can't race this afternoon, but he's also with us to provide some insight into the racing out there. Good afternoon to you as well, Jamie. I hope the injury that's keeping you away from the race today is not too bad, and I hope that you'll enjoy chatting along with us in the broadcast booth along through this Interlagos race. How would you be viewing this as a GT3 driver? We've mentioned the middle sector, especially in terms of tyre wear and hanging on to those tyres, which is all true, but most of the multi-class traffic moments are also going to happen through there, I would imagine. So how does a GT3 driver approach that going into 90 minutes here?
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm a little worse for wear after that Le Mans stint, but we're on the up and up, and hopefully be back behind the wheel here soon. This race is a GT car. It can definitely be scary, especially with that big, heavy Mercedes. Those tires are going to burn quick. And going through that middle sector, there's not a whole lot of room to share the road with these faster hypercars. And to make matters even more tricky, it looks like we have a number of drivers sharing pit stalls, both hypercars together and hypercar GTs sharing pit stalls. So that's going to throw another wrench into the strategy this afternoon.
Yeah, we often have to talk about this on R-Factor 2, that you do end up sharing boxes down the pit lane. And this is another one of those days. It's not the biggest pit lane in the world, so it'll be something to think about over the course of the day, especially considering we've got so many pit stops planned for these GT and prototypes. By the way, just to clear up a few other things before we get in. I know I'm doing a lot of admin at the start of this broadcast, but it needs to be done before the race race gets underway. The penalties I'll just have a look at from the Watkins-Glen race going into pending for this race are as follows. We've got a couple of drive-throughs for Alexander Sarayma, and Alexander McQuarrie. That is important in the GT3 AM Championship, by the way, because McQuarrie is leading that and has a drive-through penalty hanging over his head at the beginning of the day. Carl Shaw's got a stop-go penalty and also a warning for using an off-track area to pass a lapped car. And Wouter de Bruin has also got a stop-go penalty heading into today, and Mitchell as well has also got a stop and hold plus 10 for incidents at Watkins-Glen, the 60-lap race that took place last time out in the Virtual World Sports Car Championship for 2025. And I'll just hold on to the point about Wouter de Bruin, Ross, for a moment, because I couldn't help but notice that one of our teams had changed manufacturer coming into this race in the hypercar. If you could maybe tell us a little bit about that change and the new car we've got on the grid here for Interlagos.
Yeah, that was kind of a long time coming now. I have to give them credit, though. Wouter and company definitely gave it a very strong run. That Rookie Monsters team stuck with the Alpine as long as they could. They tried to work the setup as hard as they could. They tried all kinds of different things, making it stiffer, making it softer. And whether it's because of their driving style or like the setups they had for particular tracks, they just could not find a combination that could be successful for them. So they said, we gave it a good shot, the old college try, and we're ready to try something new. And with this series, you're allowed to do one car change without any kind of impact to your points. But any changes after that, you lose everything that you've gotten up to that point. So they're going for the Valkyrie. They've seen that it's had some pretty good success with drivers in NARS. I know Adrian Rice has been able to make that car work pretty well, although he's had a few other usually technical reasons that keep him from performing as well as he'd like. But it'll be interesting to see how they do today. It's obviously a big fan favorite. It's got that beautiful V12 engine in there. We all love hearing scream down the straightaway. So I'm excited to see what those Rookie Monsters can do to fight up near the top.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see the Aston as well out there on the circuit for the first time. It's a wonderful looking car, Tom. I mean, it feels like everybody's favourite sports car in the world right now. It is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant to see. Right involved in the cockpit view. of the Cadillac is just the warm-up session, so they are just getting. This is the Valkyrie of Verta de Brun going through to see the Lagen, coming up the hill towards Ferragira. And, well, I say he's about to go to Ferragira. He's gone back into the pit lane. But there is Dan Herlock, who is one of the favourites to come away with the victory tonight, I think. He's shown some strong pace in previous rounds. He has come away with victories in this championship in the past, as Dan. So he'd be one one I'd be tempted to put a little bit of money on to come away with the victory this evening.
Yeah, he will be. He's won a couple of occasions this season, although it must be said that maybe I mentioned earlier, maybe I didn't. The only races he's won is when Daniel Kirby hasn't won. He's got 3 on the bounce coming into this one, actually. Is Kirby, Qatar, Le Mans and Watkins Glen. So, yeah, he will be a force to be reckoned with over the course of this race, and indeed this season as well. As we've, oh dear, let's hope to see less of that in the race, as one of the Peugeots clatters into a GT3 Aston down into the pit entry. It is probably something else actually worth mentioning here from this circuit. The pit entry a little bit unusual, but it has been changed in the last few years. It's no longer the real difficult moment where you sort of don't know who's coming in and who isn't. This is what happened. Where does this Aston Martin come from? That's them picking themselves out of the wall a couple of moments ago as another one of the Peugeots comes in. But yeah, it's a very unusual pit entry here. Slalom chicane almost on the way in, and yeah, big speed difference there. Bang, straight into the back of the GT3 and goes for a spin, but hopefully there'll be less of that here in the race. Expecting today a number of pit stops in GT and in Hypercar, 3 to 4 in Hypercar and just 2 stops in the GT cars. As far as this season has gone along so far, Jamie, this feels to me, standard really, 2 stops for GT, but it's a lot to think about over the course of a 90-minute race, it feels to me.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, even though it's the standard 2 pit stops, there's still some strategy to be played there, especially at a track like Interlagos, where your tires are going to burn. If you back the pace down maybe a little bit and try to save those tires, maybe you can do a double stint. And then, of course, your fuel level, you don't need a full tank every pit stop. You can get away and maybe start the race on a lower tank. Or maybe you want to save that lower tank for a quicker stop toward the end of the race and maybe try to jump some of those guys ahead of you.
Oh, and there goes the cars. As I think we're going to jump forward to the race now. But yes, we will do. But just quickly, Ross, on Hypercar strategy, 3 to 4 pit stops today. It's going to be a very, very busy pit lane with Hypercars this afternoon.
Yeah, they definitely burn fuel quite a bit faster. Fortunately, there's enough offset there that we shouldn't see too much run-in with the GTs, kind of like we saw there with that Peugeot. I think that might have been Vinicius who was coming in hot, but you'd rather practice that early on, get a sense of where cars ahead of you are hitting, a little bit slower or whatnot, so that way you can get it taken care of. But yeah, it's going to be kind of busy. They've definitely got to look out for their fuel, and that's going to come into play here, I think, towards the end.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's have a look at the starting grid then. Ready for the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo this afternoon. It's Dan Herlock and Dan Kirby on the front row together, with Robin Molin getting that Valkyrie into 3rd place inside of row 2, alongside Cameron Barker, who's in the Cadillac. Tom Lane and Wouter de Bruin will share row 3. De Bruin in another one of those Astons. He's actually directly in front of Daniel Scott. On the other side of the grid, Ben Kesby, who will start 7th. 9th place will be Timon Suvic, with Michael Lock rounding out the top 10. Magnus Dahlgren and Johnny Gutierrez are sharing row 6, as the cars rather disorderly get themselves underway on their pace lap. John Mayer and Matthew Burris will be on row 7, ahead of Gillenbeck and Carl Stroll, the 2 Am Racing Alliance teammates. Mike Burris and Jerry Chen will share row 9 with Vinicius Gonçalves. I think you might be right, Ross, about that pit lane incident. He starts 19th. Alexander Schultz will start 20th. Eric Mounier will be next at Gilles Lalonde, with George Angelidis starting 23rd. He'll be the last of our hypercars, I think. JT Tarmi has taken pole in the GT3 cars. That Aston Martin Vantage going well round here so far. David Yunt, who's been behind him so often this season, so close behind him, 25th. Ahead of Ryan Purbert Reyes is Alan Holden and James Walker, who are on row 14. Alexander McQuarrie has got pole in the GT3 AMS, but don't forget about that penalty that will surely allow Stephen Miller into the lead some point early on the day. Matthew Overton and Vasilis Katarinakis are next. ahead of Adam Gray and Peter Meyer, two of our GT3 AM Championship contenders, sharing row 17 in front of Stacey Scotts in the Ferrari 296 to round out 35 cars. I've even got it written in front of me. 35 cars that we've got here for this race today. Although there may be a restart because there are a couple of DNFs and cars in the garage. Some might have missed it, so it looks like we will have to restart. So we'll continue chatting away, nevertheless, about the start of this race. It's going to be, as always, an important start to the race. Tom, qualifying has set the field, but you want to make up places early at a circuit. I actually think this could be a little bit more on the difficult side, actually, in terms of overtaking. We'll see how it actually goes, but through that middle sector, it's quite difficult. So an important start coming up, certainly, but as always, you want to stay out of trouble. That's the main thing.
Yeah, and the pace difference between the hypercars and the GTs is so enormous, and considering how short this circuit is, the likelihood is you're going to catch someone up with, most certainly, I would say, within the first 10 minutes of the race. So it's vitally important you don't get held up in traffic in the second sector of the lap, as we see the cars make their way back onto the grid. I did see one of the purple hypercars basically go past the whole field, actually, before the field went off on their formation. So I don't know if there's been a bit of a connection issue or something, or some form of technical difficulty. But hopefully we don't get a repeat of that, and we see the majority of the field raring to go for the formation, though it feels like everyone is more or less ready on the grid.
It does feel like we've gotten everybody this time around. Slightly less GT3s, actually, Ross, than what we've got in hypercars. So maybe traffic less of a factor than what we sometimes see, because they are very much outnumbered today, those GT3s.
Oh, we say that, but I'm sure any one of these hypercars running through that second sector is going to see even just one GT and scream at the world that there are too many on track in front of them. So yeah, that'll be a bit of a challenge still, regardless. I mean, we have a pretty packed field here, so I mean, even if you only had hypercars, I think that you're gonna see that even some of the slower hypercars are going to end up becoming a factor in some of the much faster ones at the pointy end of the grid here, like with CMS Pro Red and the Smile Power guys. So keep an eye out for them, because they're going to be all over the track dealing with traffic.
It's true, 23 hypercars were here and 13 GT3s here. I think that might mean there's one more, maybe it was one of the GT3s that went disconnected, but anyway, they're all back now, 36. Does it feel a bit like you're outnumbered in a situation like this, Jamie? I don't know what the races you've attended this season have been like as far as the distribution has been, but this race is certainly, you guys are in the big minority this week.
Yeah, definitely the big minority this week. Usually we see a pretty even split, but definitely a lot more guys out here in the hypercars today. It's going to be chaos for our GT3 guys. Like you guys were mentioning earlier, it's a small track. There's not a whole lot of road to share. We just hope these hypercar drivers are going to be patient and not try to pass on corner exit around the outside. You usually see one or two guys try that, and it never works out very well.
So let's see how it goes, because yeah, very easily this could be a difficult race in traffic maybe, but also we're hoping that it's going to be a nice and clean race through the entire field. But it's a big hypercar field. The new Aston Martin Valkyrie on the grid as well, the big headline here this afternoon. Qualified up in third place for Robin Moling as well. He's done a great job to get that car on the second row of the grid. There in the, you can just see on the outside line, on the outside of one of the Cadillacs actually, that he's running alongside. That's Cameron Barker in the 79 car. He will just start alongside, but it's going to roar away with the rest of the field here in a couple of moments' time. He's surrounded by Cadillacs. In fact, what a great sounding front couple of rows that is. Cadillac versus Aston Martin at the front end of the field, and some of the more preferred manufacturers a little bit further down the field in some cases here today. First Porsche 963 only in 13th with John Mayer, who's taken pole in Hypercar AM. Let's get this race underway then. the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo here from the Virtual World Sports Car Championship in 2025. An hour and 30 put on the clock. Daniel Hurlock in control of the field, and he brings them towards the start-finish line to get this race underway. The time ticks away. Hour and 30 on the clock, pretty much exactly as we cross the line, and that short run down in towards turn 1 allows the pole sitter to retain their lead pretty easily. The top 3, in fact, retain their positions, but it's Cameron Barker going backwards. Tom Lane gets that position there in the second of the Aston Martin Valkyries, the 75 car. He's also through. Oh, and just a little bit wide in the background through turn 3. It's all okay, though, just in the background. Little bit of side-by-side going on for the lead meantime as Hurlock goes on the defensive. He goes a bit deep, and Daniel Kirby comes through, sweeps through on the inside line, just coming off of turn 4 and 5. A good pass for the lead, Tom, early on through that first sector.
Hurlock outbraking himself through to see the Lago going too deep, and that allows Kirby through into the lead. We saw Tom Lane go through on Cameron Barker for 4th position at the start, and there we see the GTs further back. There is Basink and JT Tammy fighting what is 24th position overall, but at the head of that particular class of. And they go through the second sector. Now the drivers are warned about their interclass battles, but they are just making their way through turn 11, and it's going to be, well, it's going to be a free-for-all, really, all the way up through Yunseld towards the Centre S, where we should see a lot of the overtaking being done at Ewan, and I cannot wait to see how this plays out.
Yeah, just a note there in our ears, Ross, about the gap being left between GT3 and Hypercar there in terms of the start. We do see the two classes separated just slightly off of the start. Did you notice anything there? Is that a little bit smaller of a gap maybe than between the two classes than what we normally see?
It's about right. I mean, they generally try and target around 10 car lengths, which more or less stays to what it would be. But being such a shorter track for this week, being a little bit closer probably kind of advantageous. It means that you're not going to get lapped quite as quickly, but we're already seeing right now that they're into sector 2, and then you've got GTs just coming off of the Senna S's, so they're already starting to spread out, and we've got even more off track going here with Stacey Scotts, and it looks like Peter Mayer.
Yeah, that is the Lexus and the Ferrari off the road through the Centre S. We've got a couple of ones to have a look back at, actually, because Wouter de Bruin has also dropped to 23rd in Hypercar. Let's see what happened to him in the Valkyrie. This is him a couple of moments ago, is it? He's already running. He seems to already be running at the back of the field by this point, but maybe he's going to go for a spin at some point through this middle sector. No, not there. We'll try and find it in the next couple of moments, but he certainly dropped through the field somewhere. This could be, I did see a yellow flag in sector 1, and there it is. Just clips the grass there, Tom, on the way towards turn 1, and that's a very easy way to spin round, and he drops all the way to the back.
Yeah, but you want to take a wide line into turn 1, but not too wide, as the grass is waiting to just bite you on the entry. And yeah, Wouter de Bruin going for a spin and carrying on his way. We see a battle further on towards Desida de Lago. We are still looking at the replay. So John Mayer's off track at Desida de Lago, and that was enough for the purple liveried Hypercar.
Yeah, I think the Kian Bank who went through there. Hard to identify at the time. This is Stacey Scotts, I think, through the first couple of corners. Gets back onto the circuit, and well, I think that the moment we cut to them, it looked like they'd had a bigger moment, but that was just Scotts going a little bit too late on the brakes there, down in towards turn number 1. Peter Meyer getting a place from that. Daniel Kirby still leads, though. Dan Hurlock losing the lead there off of the start. I mean, very interesting start it was as well, because it looked, Ross, as if Hurlock had actually held on to the lead quite nicely, but then seemed to almost under no pressure at all outbrake himself into turn 4.
He's done that a couple times, Tom, where he's just managed to, I don't know, outdo himself a little bit. As we see Guilherme going off. Bank is having a really good battle here with Matt Bice. Both Bice brothers are right there giving him a good fight. This is probably one of, I want to say, Guilherme's better races of the season. I mean, he's really in there, and he's actually putting on some good moves, even though he's a little bit sporadic with some of his car control. But this is really fun to watch with the AMs.
Side by side, it's for second place in the class, and Bank goes all the way around the outside to keep second for the moment in front of those two Toyotas run by the two brothers. As you say, Bank has had a bit of an inconsistent season, hasn't actually been here since Qatar, but as It was only 9th place that day. A couple of top 5s at the start of the season. It was in 10th in the standings as they go side by side. Oh, and off. He's been dived there, has Matthew Burst off the circuit. And that's going to be an awkward conversation later. Contact between himself now and one of the Peugeots. That's Vinicius Gonçalves who gets involved. Shoulder barges him through turn 5. They're still side by side. This is where the action is. Down in the Hypercar AMS, the leaders, the Hypercar pros, are not really doing too much. It's the AMS and it's the brothers there, Tom, who have got into contact.
Yeah, it was inevitable, wasn't it, by the time they got to Interlagos. But Boyce is still having a go on Jerry Chen, Matthew Boyce that is, who's stuck behind Jerry Chen now, who is going after the other Boyce, who is in that green liveried hypercar. But really nice to see those in the hypercar AM class fighting it out through the last sector they come. Do you notice that on that banking, it feels to me like you can gain some extra speed by just going through there when you're going side by side? Because we saw it with Boyce and Benker on the previous lap, where one of which, who was on the outside, was able to just generate a little bit more speed on the approach to the Senna S.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a slope there on the outside of the final corner, and you do see it, especially in qualifying, where they run right out wide there just to try and generate as much speed as possible with the help of gravity towards turn number 1. It probably gains you thousandths, maybe hundredths of a second, but they do it sometimes to try and get what they can. Oh, out of the... Matthew Bush going well out of shape there. He's done a good job to hold it, actually, and he stays in 16th. If you're looking on some of on the order, by the way, on the left-hand side, and wondering why some of the hypercars now are embedded within the GT3 field, don't worry about that. We've not missed anything. They're just serving their penalties. Wouter de Bruyn and Carl Struel have both done that now, and that's why they are in amongst the GT3 field. They haven't had a separate incident. De Bruyn as well. Stacey Scott seems to be our first retirement of the day, unfortunately. So down to, what's that, 12 GT3s already here, which is surprising. But, you know, these are the way things go time to time. That is the contact with the wall coming out of turn 5. And that is the end of that for Stacey Scott's, unfortunately. And that will be a retirement down onto pit lane. Looked like a pretty big hit on the wall there, Tom.
It was, but that car had been handled. The handling on that car has been really poor since the start, so Stacey Scott hasn't been able to get that car dialed in, it seems, from the moment lights went out. But you could just see what goes through here. It's a very bizarre place to go for a spin by yourself, in my opinion.
Just clips the curb there on the inside and spins around. This is Matthew Overton in the Aston, going a bit wide and bobbling back onto the circuit again. Should be fine to get away with that. That was a bit of foreshadowing there, wasn't it? Big slide for one of the Ferraris through the first couple of corners. That's Ben Kesby, who was running 5th and still is running 5th, but certainly blew across the chicane there as a way of gathering that one up. We're now, though, into GT3 traffic, and I always say this, Jamie, in commentary. I don't know whether it applies to the drivers as well in such short races, but I always say at this stage that the real race really begins now, and the traffic now will decide things.
Yeah, and it really does. There for the start, the hypercars are just managing their own race, and so are the GTs. But now they come together, and both classes really have to be paying attention, because the hypercars come up on you so fast, and sometimes it is better for both of you just to lift a little bit and let them on by.
Yeah, and that's what we saw from the Lexus actually there of Peter Meyer. How often would you do that, by the way, in a race, actually properly get out the way of a hypercar? Because we always say the blue flag rule in sports car racing is that you don't have to get out the way, but it's a good idea to maybe not get in the way at the same time. It's an awkward balancing act. But how often in a race are you genuinely pulling out the way? As Daniel Kirby goes for a big slide, that's not what you want to see in your rearview mirrors either. How often is it that these GT3 cars are actually pulling out the way properly?
I think a lot of it depends on the driver behind you. You know, race car drivers, we don't forget a whole lot, so we know how the hypercar drivers and the other GTs are racing us. And if we see somebody that's a little bit more aggressive coming up behind us, you know, maybe we don't cut them as much of a break, and we see that they're not close enough to get side by side before the corner, and we just hold them back there. Or sometimes you see somebody that you know is aggressive, and you think, I better let them on by, because otherwise we're both going to crash, and I need to save my race right now. So I wouldn't say we do it on purpose, but, you know, I wouldn't say we do anything on purpose, but race car drivers, we want to race each other how we want to be raced. And if somebody is a little more aggressive than we like, we might just hand it a little bit back to them,
Yeah, absolutely. James just through the middle of that saying that accusing GT drivers of doing it on purpose because he thinks they should stay out of the way all the time. But there you go. That's an age-old argument that we're never going to solve. Yellow flag in Sector 2 that the leaders are approaching on here. You saw a very close moment for Kirby, actually, through Turn 3 there. Was really straddling the curb and just about got away with it. But he's under huge pressure here from Herlock, is Kirby. And this is a great battle for the lead early on, Tom. Just over 10 minutes gone, and these two have been pretty inseparable so far. Yeah, well, a couple of times where Dan Kirby was going through the GTs, he came very, very close to just running into the rear. There was one at the very, very last kink before the finish line, and the other on the exit, the curve of the Sol, where he had to go out wide onto the curb to make sure he got through safely. But yeah, this is going to play a role in how this race gets decided. The two Dans, Kirby and Herlock, nose to tail. You could have predicted it at the beginning that they were going to go into combat or be at close terms, but you can just see as they go past that Aston Martin on the right-hand side. Nicely done there, not getting involved in the action. So we've got a replay here of an incident over at Interlagos. That's one of the GTs going around for a spin. Yeah. That is through Turn 4. Another one on the grass. We've seen that already, haven't we? But that's another one just clipping the grass, and fair play for staying out the way there, just on avoiding. Just having you looking at the hypercar maybe a little bit too much. Is that what's going on there, Jamie? Is he looking maybe in his mirrors a bit too much? He's lost control of his own car. It's just broken while still two wheels on the grass.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. These Mercedes are so wide, and so are the hypercars, really, that sometimes you don't realize that they're a little bit further away from you than they are, and you just give them that extra little bit of space, and you find yourself on the grass and facing the wrong direction. Really unfortunate there for Vasilis.
Drop to now. He is at the back end of actually GT3 there. So we've got how many GT? We've got 6 in the Pro GT3s. 8 Pro GT3s is at the back end of that at the moment. This is the big battle further down in Hypercar, and there is Katrinakis in the Mercedes again. But this is great racing. It's for 13th overall. Glen Benk is at the front of it, and then next in line it's Alexander Schultz trying to get away from this because he's a Hypercar in amongst all the Hypercar AMs. Jerry Chen's here, so is both of the buses, as well as Vinicius Gonçalves in the middle of this as well. That's Jerry Chen going for a big slide, and here comes Bryce on the outside, or the inside rather, out of Junshao, the final corner. Looks like he is going to drag past maybe in that Toyota on the way down in towards turn number 1. It's just about on the inside, but the Porsche does seem to have the legs on the straight. Back through again. Bryce gets in the slipstream again into turn 1, breaks a little bit earlier, and he won't get through, I don't think. Close to contact, but he doesn't quite get through. This is a great battle though, Tom. We've seen it lively for nearly the first quarter of an hour now. Yeah, Jerry Chen used that slope on the final kink to keep hold of the position there, and that's what helps him have the high ground towards the centre. So now we're looking at the Peugeot coming towards the Desida de Lago. That's Vinicius Gonçalves, who is going through Desida de Lago. He's behind Boyce for position. Matthew Boyce, that is, in the yellow liveried hypercar ahead as they go through one of the other GTs there, and it's all getting chaotic heading towards the right-hander of turn number 8. Are they all going to get through safe and sound? Well, Guilherme Benk has got through, no problem whatsoever, but what about Cherry Chen and Matthew Boyce? Are they going to get round? That looks like Matthew Overton, who is go one way and then the other. Chen go through on the outside. Boyce gets held up big time. He does, and Gonçalves is going to go through there. Is he on the inside line? No, he gets stuck now in behind the Aston Martin, so couldn't follow through. Now his brother's on the scene as well, down the inside. Oh, contact! Oh, wow, they get away with it. That was close, very close there. I think it's actually, is it JT Tammy maybe? No, maybe, I think you were right the first time actually, Tom. I think it is Matthew Overton. Maybe not, I don't know. There's so much going on at the moment. Side by side, meantime, Chen versus Benk in towards turn 1, side by side. Same for Bison Gonçalves, and he's got it, has Chen. Yes, he has, round the outside of turn 2. Now he's through. Here comes Matthew Boyce now, up for 3rd place maybe on Guillaume Benk, who's driven really well to begin with in this race, but just lost a place there, and it was in danger of becoming 2. I mean, you've been in hypercar races like this before, Ross, but I mean, this group is quite astonishing. 15 minutes into the race, coming through traffic as well.
I'm really impressed that they haven't managed to completely wipe anybody out yet, although they've certainly done their best to try. I kind of feel for Matthew Overton because he is trying to just mind his own business, and he's just caught up in this fervent battle for the hypercar AMS side of things, like all the way from first through fifth. And I have to say, I haven't seen the Bice brothers this aggressive fighting for position in quite some time. So this is really great to see now that they've, it's their first year in hypercar, and it's sort of been a little ho-hum through the first part of the season, but it looks like they finally kicked the lights on, and now they're really fighting for it. It's really good to see. And the AM Alliance with Guilherme Bank and Carl Strual, I mean, they've also been able to kick it up a little bit. They're looking a little bit more professional. They haven't just kind of wiped out at a corner. I don't know, maybe it's just the track, just a mix of ingredients where we're getting this really good just mix, and we're getting some great action out of it.
We're getting some fantastic action. Not too much to show you in GT3, so we're not missing anything down there by following these hypercars, and we can barely pull ourselves away from this hypercar battle. Anyway, as you say, the Bices are very much having an improvement here in this round of the championship. Both of their best results actually been fourth so far, so still do well to improve from there. But this is good battling at the moment between all of these hypercar AMs as they now start to come through the top end of GT3. That's one of the Porsches just coming through. That's Ryan Porbett Reyes, I think. Then Alan Holden, who's just next in line, as Jerry Chen goes down the inside of that Porsche, which will now stay wide and turns out of it, actually, as Bent goes down the inside, turns out of it through the left-hander. Now Peugeot will be coming through as well. And this has got to be a nightmare, Jamie, if you're a GT3 driver at this stage. They're battling away and they're spinning around as well. That's one of the Peugeots going around, and that will slow up the GT3. We always talk about it, but it's the incidents that can slow you down as well, as that Peugeot went around right in front of him there.
Yeah, a hypercar gaggle like that is definitely not what you want to see in your rearview mirror, and then you definitely don't want to see a hypercar sitting sideways directly in front of you. Just a nightmare all around right there for the GT3 guys.
It carried on. I didn't realise it wasn't over. Sorry, that carried on for some moment there. So the initial spin here is for the Peugeot. That's pretty standard, but. And he bobbles back onto the circuit again.
No.
Which of the boosts is that?
That was Mike.
It's Mike. Yeah. He's just got a little bit loose already out on the grass. He's already spinning. And that's very unlucky, you've got to say, Ross, for the Peugeot, because he's just getting back going again after his own spin. And unlucky for Mike as well, because on another day, that spin wouldn't have cost anybody else anything, and that would have just been on his own. But very unfortunate the way they collected each other, and another one of the Peugeots as well.
Ewan, you're calling it exactly right. I mean, that was going so well for so long, and it just took a little bit of going on the edge and reaction to just set those dominoes in motion. And fortunately, it's really broken up that battle pack, and they've fallen off. And speaking of falling off, as you see the Aston Martin Valkyrie on screen there, that team unfortunately has not had a good debut with that car. All three of those drivers, those rookie monsters, have had a spin right in front of them. So he's gotten some damage and almost got, had to go evasive there and was in the wall. I can only imagine the amount of damage that those 9X8s and the Toyotas have gotten at this point. What a tragedy. Although, it might have gotten a bump there a little bit from the Curie Mistral car. I wasn't sure if that was Jerry Chen or Eric Moinet who tagged him in the back. I want to say it might have been Jerry Chen because he's moved up the order now. He's in front of Guilherme Bank. But that's it's quite a move if he is. He's now up there right behind his teammate John Mayer.
Yeah, second place, and John Mayer's been able to actually stay out of all of this so far, so he's leading by some distance and has been for a while now. But not sure if it was Chen or Moinet actually, because Chen might have been in front anyway, but Moinet's too far back, isn't he? Moinet's still behind them, so it must have been Chen. Oh, Katranakis is off, and there's another look at the replay of the incident. Katranakis, though, was definitely putting himself back onto the circuit again after being off the road. Yeah, there is that Chen?
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah. Is it
Monet?
Okay. I thought Monet was too far back, to be honest with you, but maybe not. He's he's trying to pick himself through, very nearly did, but then he did punt the back of the Peugeot there. Money might find himself in trouble for that, Tom. We'll see what the stewards decide to do. But yeah, a little bit of contact there when the incident was all happening in front of him. He slowed down initially, but not quite enough by the end.
Yeah, not quite by enough. And as they head towards the left-hander, towards Yonsao corner. But answering your question, it was a very bizarre concertina collision, wasn't it? Because it resulted in Boyce going off the circuit initially, which then collected the Persia, who was only recovering from an earlier incident. So it's a difficult one, really, if you're a race steward. But there we see the Peugeot thinking about an overtake into the centre-est corner. I think that's got to be Concalves, isn't it? He's trying to make up for lost time. And he is on the tail of Monet. This is the fight for 6th place. Concalves on the outside. Is he able to get alongside another? Well, he's got his nose in front, but has he got the whole car in front before the corner? Absolutely yes. So that is him through into 6th position as Mike Boyce goes wide. And that's like 2 for the price of 1 pretty much really for finishes Goncalves, and he's through before they get to Ferragiro, unless Mike Boyce has something to say on that. But no, Goncalves making up for lost time here, Ewan.
He absolutely is. And he's back up into the top 5 now at the expense of Mike Boyce now in that Toyota. Then Eric Monet, who is indeed in that Porsche at the back. He's actually hit Boyce in the background. Just saw it in the rearview mirror there as Goncalves is trying to distance himself with this pass. Oh, that's a bit skatey on the brakes, but he's got away with it. The GT driver won't be best pleased, but he's got away with it, as I say. And Monet now will try and overtake Mike Boyce into the final corner. That's not going to happen. Now indecisiveness through the final turn, and they now come onto the front straight. And there'll surely be a chance down in towards turn number 1 here for Monet. They're on a very tight line before that final corner, and it does mean you end up off the circuit and nearly in the fence down there at that final corner. Now down towards the start-finish line, and nothing doing this time round. It might just start to calm down now, Ross, as we get towards, surely, the first pit stops of the day for the Hypercars.
I could use a break. Just, oh no, Vasilis. Oh, that's a hard hit. So easy to do coming off of this, especially if you've got hot tires. That's got to be end of the... Well, no, he's still going a little... Oh, he must have dropped out then after that. Hopefully he didn't take anybody else with him. This is... It looks like he's waiting. You hate to see that, especially Jamie is sitting right next to us here watching all of this take place.
It's like he's waiting at a stop sign, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, guys. Vasilis there, he made it back at the pits. He didn't collect anybody else. Great job for him to get back without any further damage. I heard from the top of the pit box that they got 3 minutes worth of repairs, so they just decided to retire the car. Big shame here is Vasilis' day goes from bad to worse.
Box flying there for the Toyota as Mike Boyce goes off the side of the circuit to allow Meunier through. And this is Stephen Miller further back. Big crash up the top of the hill. Oh, that's a hard hit. Oh, and he's gone over. Up and over and back on. Oh, and over again. Dear, oh dear, the McLaren with big trouble here and very nearly takes out one of the Valkyries, getting back going again. That's Stephen Miller. Has he got away with that? No, he hasn't. Goodness me. Stephen Miller, 3rd place in the championship. So many of these GT3 hands have had trouble so far today. Just loses it there, Jamie, at the top of the hill and rolls over a couple of times in that McLaren.
Yeah, guys, what a shocking accident there. It's not normally what you see here at Interlagos, but I guess crazier things have happened.
Goodness me.
Yeah, it looks like his rear tires just got overheated and around it went.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think the final corner was going to be such a feature. But is it actually a thing? I don't know how much driving you've done at Interlagos in a GT recently, in a GT3, but is it actually a corner you have to think about it in those cars? Because normally when you see, a prototype and open wheel racing around here, I don't even call that the final corner because it's just a bend in the road, really.
Yeah, with the amount of downforce that these GT3 cars have, especially with how trimmed out they are to get all the speed down that short straight, that final corner, if you miss the line, you are in for quite a wild ride, as we saw there from Stephen Miller. It's a very dangerous place for hypercars to pass on the inside, even though you wouldn't think about it, because if you miss that line, you're just along for the ride and you're going out wide. You really have to back out of the throttle to get the car to settle back in.
Pit stops have now begun in the hypercars, and we'll start to unpick it in a moment because it's not quite worked itself out yet. Ben Kesby is leading the race, but he won't be after the stop, I wouldn't have thought, because he hasn't stopped yet. So we'll see where he comes out afterwards as they now come up to that final real corner. That's a bit of the boxes, and now into the lane. In the background, that is one of the Porsches. I think that's Chen or Monnier carrying on because they've already stopped. Must be Jerry Chen, who is a lap down, unlapping himself. Schultz gets a penalty. That might be speeding, I guess. And this is Daniel Kirby, who's suddenly nearly 6 seconds in front of Daniel Hurlock. Now, just explain to us, Ross, with an hour and 5 to go and still 2 pit stops to go, maybe 3 for some, how he could have gained such an advantage in that pit stop phase when he only came in about half a second behind.
Well, Kirby is pretty good on fuel compared to Hurlock. We've seen that throughout the season, so it's very possible that when he came in, he had a bit more fuel on board that he didn't have to sit in his stall still for. And it was pretty crowded coming down pit road when we were kind of cutting to it there. So Hurlock may have just been delayed slightly, and that was just enough to kind of push him back, you know, combined with some of the potential fuel savings that that Kirby had. So that's probably enough to open up the gap as we switch over here to Alan Holden, trying to hold off Ryan Pulver-Reyes and having a moment with it. Oh man, these two heavyweights, they're going at it now.
They certainly are. That was very loose for Reyes through the kink in the road there before Pico de Pato. Now the final turn at Junshao, a little bit wider from Holden. And now surely Reyes is going to have a chance at the end of the straight, but just have a look at this over the top of the hill here through this left-hander. They're on the line that they want this time round, and not nearly as loose as Stephen Miller was before he went into the wall hard over the top of the hill there at the end of another lap. And there's no way through just for the moment down in towards turn number 1 for Reyes, but he gets close. And look at the hypercars as well in the rearview mirror there as they watch on and go around the outside. There they go. One of the hypercars. I think looks like Guillaume Benck in 4th, just working his way past. But just give us maybe a strength or weakness of these cars, Jamie, as we watch these guys battle. The Ferrari versus the Porsche. Reyes didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the front straight there, really, in terms of straight line speed.
Yeah, I've been watching these two battle here for the last couple laps now, and what I'm seeing is a Ferrari that's really trimmed out and really starting to struggle on these tires. He drives away down the front stretch, but then when you get into the technical middle sector of the track, Ryan Pulver-Reyes is right on his bumper giving him the hurry up. This is a really interesting battle. If the Porsche was just a little bit more trimmed out, I think you would have him, and I think you would drive away from him.
Yeah, it's the classic manufacturer battle, and these to me, Tom, are always the most exciting because you've got a car good through the corners, trying to work its way past through the corners where normally you don't want to be making the overtakes. You want to do it at the end of long straights, but if you don't have the straight line speed, you don't have that option. Makes for absolutely fascinating racing. Oh,
there we go.
Ends up in the fence over the top of the hill.
Yeah, you saw it right there, guys. Hypercar is passing on the inside, put the GT3s offline and into the wall with Ryan Pulver-Reyes.
And there goes James Walker as well. It shows you how quickly things can turn. Tom, Reyes was looking for 4th. Now he's down in 6th.
Yep, and it's just, I don't know if he got caught out by the turbine air, did Pulver-Reyes, but he's now behind James Walker, who is, we haven't spoken enough about of him so far in this one, now up into 5th place in the Aston Martin. And it won't be too long before we start seeing pit stops involving the GTs. But it is Dan Kirby who leads the way with Dan Hurlock off that delay in the pits. And it's Karen Barker who is now having to switch his attentions to ensure he doesn't lose 2nd place.
This is, great battling between these guys. But just watch this through the corners again. The Porsche will gain in. Maybe less so on that Aston Martin, but certainly getting that Ferrari back reeled in again. As another one of the hypercars now approaches. We are coming up, by the way, to half an hour gone in this race already, if you can believe it. We've had this first half hour, that is, absolutely fly by. It's been a very exciting race so far, Tom, but there's still plenty more to come here. And because we've already seen strategy differences in hypercar, it's all got to work itself out later on. Could be quite a close race out front. So, there's a lot to look forward to in the next hour, but this first half hour has really flown by very quickly.
It has. With all the incidents we've had to look at, the time has been running down quite quickly, perhaps quicker than we all would have imagined. This is a replay of, is that Benker who's gone for a spin at this?
It's Carl Struhl.
Stopped in the pits actually, so that could well be a DNF for Carl Struhl, and that's him out of the race. So that's retirement number 3, along with visitors Kateranakis and Stacey Scott.
That is a real shame. Good afternoon, though, to Stacey Scott, who's come and chat with us in the YouTube chat, along with everybody else as well. Saw Mr. Rees in there earlier on as well. So, yeah, good afternoon to you all watching along this afternoon as we follow this race. Let's go back to Michael Lock versus Johnny Gutierrez. Got to say, I like that livery on the Peugeot. I know it's the... Is that the same as what they do in real life, or very similar? Anyway, it's a nice livery, and Michael Lock is in an equally nice Peugeot, is trying to overtake him at the moment for 9th place. This is in the Hypercar AM field. Seems to be, or is this Hypercar overall? Sorry, it's Hypercar overall, isn't it? Yeah, Pro. So battling class for 9th and 10th, but also overall as well, about a half minute off the lead of Daniel Kirby at the moment with 59 minutes to go. 2 Peugeots as well, so all the manufacturer difference, Tom, that we were talking about for that battle in GT, we can throw out the window just for the moment while these guys battle away in their Peugeots.
What I will say is that when Stephen Miller had his accident in the GT, he was leading that class, and that time of repair in the pits had dropped him down to the back of it. So that was a really, really big moment there, and a good news for Alexander McQuarrie in the race for the championship in that respective group.
Yes, it very much is. Adam Gray is leading, though, will gain points as it stands on McQuarrie, who I think has served his penalty already. I guess he must have done, since we're this deep into the race. He has to have done. So he's now got Gray to chase down here, and it looks like they will do. Gutierrez moves through on the left-hand side of the Aston. Michael Lock also gets through as well, 2 in 1. And there's a yellow flag again in Sector 2, just up in front. It's actually waving right in front of them here. We'll see who this is for. Oh, wow. Oh, my word.
Wild shunt.
Oh, I thought I was seeing things when I saw a car actually off at that part of the circuit. I didn't think it was possible. Really hard hit there through turn 5. Slams the Porsche and the Peugeot rather, and goes straight into the fence. Now, who is that in the Peugeot? Yeah. Well, it's a mystery a little bit, but that was a really hard hit there, Tom, and hard into the wall on the outside. There he is, still trying to pick himself out the wall.
I'm just looking at the car number of the Peugeot ahead, the white Peugeot I'm looking at. I've cut away from that one, unfortunately, but
I think it shows Lalonde.
65. It's the 65.
Wow, that's a hard hit though from Boots. That is Mike, who is down in last now actually in the Hypercar AMS, but goodness me, hard hit from the rear from the car and then hit on the front as well into the tyre barrier. That's going to be damage for Gilles Lalonde, and he is into pit lane unsurprisingly.
I would expect him to be in there for a long time because that's the second hit against the barrier he's had in this race already. Gilles Lalonde, we saw it at Bica de Pato when he got taken out, didn't he? In that concertina involving, I think it was Mike Boyce of all people, wasn't it? So that's the second collision that he's been involved in with Mike Boyce. Now, I'm not saying it was deliberate by any means, but it's just it's rather ironic to see 2 incidents happening involving the same driver at different points in the circuit in the same race.
Yeah, a bit of a coincidence there, unfortunate coincidence for those two, as Robin Moling now gets into the slipstream of Ben Kesby. The Porsche in the background is not for position, by the way. That is John Mayer, who was leading the Hypercar AMS earlier. Not sure what cost him so much time in the pit stop phase, but he's now a lap down behind Kesby and Moling, who's on a better line there. Wider line into turn 2. Oh, but slides. He hits the curbs. He goes for a slide, and that's a bit of work undone there. Tommy was actually shaping up quite nicely for a move at turn 4, but he's not going to be able to do it now.
Yeah, it's that inside curb on at turn 2 is what is catching some drivers out already. You've got to try and avoid it if you can. And Robert Merlin, well, he'll know for future reference not to take that curb too much. And that's so very nearly could have put him in the barrier and out of it. But looking at the gap between Dan Kirby and Dan Herlock, it's come down to 3 seconds. And we are seeing Barker closing on Herlock as well. So not just Herlock closing on Kirby, but Barker is as well. I wonder if Kirby is just preserving tyre life at the moment, securing the knowledge that he is he's got that cushion over his rivals, providing he doesn't have any form of delay being stuck in traffic, either on circuit or in the pits for when he next comes in for his pit stop.
55 minutes to go here, and Barker is closing on Herlock, so Herlock is catching on Kirby. So the front 3 are rather converging at the front end of this field, and that is fantastic news for us. With just less than 55 minutes to go, that we've got a potential leading battle here between these guys. Jamie, in GT3, we still haven't really seen pit stops, but now we're finally starting to see them here. What's the strategy outlook from here with 55 minutes to go? Still, I guess we're on the 2-stop strategy, but what are the guys likely to be taking on at this first pit stop of the day?
Yeah, I've been watching these pit stops start here, and it looks like we've got a mix of strategy. I don't think Ryan Palbert-Reyes took any tires, but I think Matthew Overton did. And to go further, I saw Alan Holden pit far earlier than anybody else. Maybe trying for that undercut, but given the distance between him and Palbert-Reyes, I don't think it's quite worked out for him.
Good job you're watching those, because there's I can't stay on top of it at the moment. There's too much going on out there on the circuit, that's for sure. Close again between Cosby and Moling, actually, through the middle sector. Moling is going for a pass on Kesby, outside line at the Pico de Pato, and that was not quite going to work. Aggressive defending there from Ben Cosby, Tom, but fair defending. Moling's got to find his way through fairly now on maybe the run towards turn of 1 in that Valkyrie.
Yep, so we're going to see these two locking horns in a moment, I'd have thought, before they get to Decida de Lagoas, and Ben Kesby will know all too well that Robert Merlin in the Aston Martin Valkyrie is not too far away from a potential move at some point. He's so much later on the brakes as Merlin into turn 1. Is the Aston Martin more confident on the brakes compared to the Ferrari, it seems?
Maybe. There's manufacturer differences all the way through. So, to be fair, the Ferrari was expected to be one of those strong here today, alongside the Cadillac and the Porsche. Pre-race thoughts about which manufacturers might be the ones to beat here. It was very much those 3, but I think any circuit, if you've got Kirby and Herlock in the Cadillac, it's likely to be a one manufacturer race at the front of the field. Kesby gets slowed up slightly by a fellow Aston Martin here. 2 teammates running up towards the front in GT3. That was number 14, James Walker and Matt Overton. It was Ilko Bussing actually and James Walker, I think. I don't think it was Overton involved there, but Overton's in the 47 car. No, it is Overton, okay. So how are those two together? Overton's a lap down. So where's he lost a lap there? He's a minute behind Holden, and he's a lap down. So that's why I'm getting confused. That's good. Anyway, they've been passed. There. There's been quite a lot going on anyway. But JT Tummy is into pit lane in the 97 Aston Martin, and Ilko Bussing gets out ahead of him again. So the Tammy's not going to be leading, I don't think, when it all shakes out, but we'll get back to that later. This is Overton running a little bit wide, and this was a little bit later on when he came to a stop at the end of the pit lane. He hasn't got a penalty unless he's picked one up during the race, but rather odd one. This is turn 4. A lot of GT3 seem to be having trouble with turn number 4 here today, Jamie. It's just a standard 90-degree left-hander, as far as I can see, to end the first sector, but a lot of the GT guys having trouble with it.
Yeah, it's a fairly standard corner, but again, with how these guys have these cars trimmed out so they can get all the speed down the front straight, every corner can get pretty sketchy, especially if you have some older tires. One thing that I do want to note here is that JT Tammy pitted 2 laps ago, and David Yunt is still out on track. Wonder if he's going for the overcut here to try to get some time back on JT and Ilko Busnik.
How possible would it be to actually shorten this and just do one stop here? Because he's, as you say, got a couple of laps now, David. And is it feasible that actually he's just trying to eliminate a pit stop completely out of this race?
I think it might be possible, but I think taking 2 stops and having a lighter fuel load would be a lot better than trying to have the heavy car and fuel save.
Right, we'll see whether that is the battle that we're setting up for there in GT3. So we follow Ben Kesby and Robin Moling again with 50 minutes to go. We're rapidly approaching halfway, but what a fascinating prospect that could be, Tom, at the front of the field. 51 seconds in GT3 at the moment. I've wondered why Yunt has been a little bit on the slower side here today compared to what we see normally, but maybe that does explain it. Maybe he's doing something different.
Here we go, guys. David Yunt into the pits now.
Ah, there we go. That's that conversation over. Yeah, Yunt's in the pit lane. But nevertheless, you know, he's shortened his pit stop anyway. He doesn't have to take on quite as much fuel now.
We'll see how far he goes into the race before he pits in again. If he is going further in the second stint compared to the others, then that will mean he'll have less fuel needing to be put in his final stop, which will allow him to really push hard in the closing laps.
Absolutely. We'll see whether he decides to do that or not, or indeed what he decides to do there. As they now, the leaders that is, pulls onto the front straight again. 49 minutes still to go. They need to go another 4 minutes in these hypercars if they want to reduce this race to just 3 stops rather than the 4. As we mentioned before, the hypercars burn through their fuel a lot quicker than the GT3s do. As Moling slides his way through those first couple of corners. Just seemingly can't find his way past Ben Kesby at the moment. And this is maybe the story of the middle of the race, Tom. It might be a little bit more difficult to overtake now because it's all settled in a little bit more here at Interlagos. But you know, we'll wait and see here because so far the first 40 minutes of this race have been very, very exciting.
Well, Dan Kirby is the man in command of this one. He may only have a lead of 2.7 seconds, but he is managing to get very, very well since Dan Herlock and Cameron Barker were closing in a little bit. But you can see that Kirby's getting held up behind fellow hypercars who are in their own class compared to where he is at. He's got by one of the Peugeots, has Kirby, and now he's going to be heading up towards the next hypercar. We'll see in a moment. We're looking at Cameron Barker. There is Dan Kirby. Oh no, he's not got by the Peugeot yet, but we'll see how he navigates this way. There is one, there is two. I think is that Benker who's ahead?
Might be. Lalonde is there, Benk is there. Gonsalves is there as well. Yeah, it's quite busy around this part of the circuit. That is Gern Benk, though, in second place and ran right off the road there. Next up is Gonsalves. Then there's a lapped car involved, or is that Kirby actually leading the race? It is. So the race leaders now having to come through here, and this is a nightmare really for the overall leaders, Jamie, because it's not GT3 traffic that you'd be expected to get past. You've got to fight your way past people in your class.
Yeah, that makes it really tough on those hypercar guys. As you mentioned earlier, blue flags here don't mean get out of the way. They just mean, hey, look out behind you. So Kirby here is going to have to be really careful. Now, hopefully these guys do see the blue flags and go ahead and get out of his way and not interfere with the race for the lead. But they're also in their own race. They don't want to give up any time to the car ahead of them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
Absolutely. James is telling us he disagrees that they should be that they should have to get out the way, but you know, he's wrong. So anyway, Kirby does indeed get past Gonsalves on the front straight, who was nice to him on the way towards turn number 1, pulls out the way on the front straight. That's where it's easy to do really, and you don't lose too much time. They're more than happy to do it. Benk off the road again, this time at turn 3. He's lucky there's a bit of tarmac on the either side of this circuit in places, because he just keep running wide, and now he's got the overall leader right in behind him here, Tom, and Kirby is being slowed down from this. Herlock being brought right back into the race. As a result, you can see him in the sort of yellowy black Cadillac in the background closing in.
And another spice I'll throw in there. GTs are about to get in the way again. You could just see the hypercars that are coming towards those. There are a couple of them further up ahead. I think one of them is David Yuntz, who's going through Beaker de Pato, who's in his own battle, or maybe trying to get by another GT. We'll see in a moment. There goes Kirby on Benkert, who gets out of the way whilst running in second place in the Hypercar AM class. There are the GTs that are coming up behind. But that's Stephen Miller, I would have thought, going through Yunsari. Gets by Stephen Miller, does Dan Kirby. Yeah, this is going to make things even more tricky. So we've basically got 4 cars, pretty much, all in their own classes that they're just trying to navigate their way through. And there goes Herlock. He's going for it on Kirby towards the centre S.
He's going for it 3 wide, and Benk's getting involved here on the outside line. Now, that's where Kirby's going to be unhappy here. He's still on the inside, and Benk now has definitely got in the way of Kirby, who definitely won't be pleased. Herlock goes through into the race lead, and Cameron Barker in his fellow teammates' Cadillac in the background is just coming through as well here. The Porsche will just block in Benk for the moment. You can see why Benk wants to keep these positions in the class, but he is interfering at the moment with the race-leading battle here. And now Cameron Barker trying to come through. 3 wide, oh my word. They go either side of one of the Porsches. Benk slides into the side of Barker, and now he's defending on the inside of Cameron Barker, who's a lap ahead of him here. Now this is where I start to not agree with it, really, because he is getting in the way a little bit of this leading battle. Now he gets out of the way. Oh, but that's where the problem comes. As you slow down, not everybody sees it, and Gonsalves has now slapped into the back of him as well. Goodness me. It was all happening there, Tom, and they figure it out eventually, but there's no doubt the traffic had a role there in that leading battle between the front 2.
Well, we've got 2 more retirements I can report to you, both of which being in the LMGT3 AM class. Alexander McQuarrie, the leader in the championship in that, is out along with Peter Meyer.
Oh, that's top 2 in the championship. Both out, isn't it? Or is Meyer third? No, he is second. So we'll see what happened there. Very unusual, but yeah, we'll try and find out. We're not going to see it, but we'll try and find out what happened from them. McQuarrie and Meyer both out of the race. It's been a very attritional race in GT3 so far, Jamie, it must be said, but that will really throw the cat amongst the pigeons now for the championship. There's only 2 GT3 AMs left in this race, and there's McQuarrie in the gravel and ending his race.
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild race. I mean, the fans in the stands and the fans at home are certainly getting their money's worth. Interlagos is not disappointing. I've been watching David Yunt as well ever since he took his pit stop. He did take tires, and he came out a long way behind Ryan Palbert Reyes, and he is now right on his back bumper, giving him the hurry up here through Sector 2. Looks like that Mercedes strategy might be paying off for him.
That was slightly odd. Looked like a disconnection to me for the Aston, and this is Peter Meyer in the Lexus pulling off to the side and retiring as well. So
guys, we've got a spin here. Ryan Palbert Reyes just went around. We almost went 4 wide with 3 hypercars and David Yunt, and it looks like Ryan Palbert Reyes got the little punterino there.
Further down now in 5th place. This is the moment you just mentioned. 3 wide into the bit. There's the send. Oh dear. And it was clumsy down into Pico de Pato. Who actually made the contact there? Is it the Porsche? Yeah. Looks like the Porsche. Oh dear, what a mess that is. Side-to-side contact. I think that's the battle actually for 4th, isn't it? 5th place? Moling and Kesby, yeah. So they're side by side. One of the Porsches there, who's a lap down in Hypercar, trying to stay out the way, hitting a fellow Porsche, but in GT3, spinning them around. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Jamie, what a nightmare it is. And look at this, it's not over yet. Moling is going to get through, but 3 wide. And now finally they get away with it. You mentioned earlier that, you know, it's just your worst nightmare as a GT3 driver to actually see all of those cars in the background, those hypercars crawling all over you. But yeah, it's not often you get punchy around like that. That's a pretty obvious one there for the Porsche, which is a shame down at turn 10.
Yeah, that's a rough position for Palbert Reyes and Yunt to be in. That's one of those situations where you do just want to pull over to the side of the road and wave at them as they go by. Because, you know, if you try to hold any of them up or you don't make it easy for them, you're just going to end up crashed. And unfortunately, that's what we saw there with Palbert Reyes.
Yeah, it's a shame. McQuarrie's back again in the pit lane. I wonder whether it was a disconnection. He's now going to be able to return here. He's not out on the circuit again yet, but he is in the server again. Gutierrez, meanwhile, holds off Michael Locke for 6th place. as the hypercar pit stops happen again just over the other side of halfway, and Kirby's in. So Herlock was in last lap. Is Daniel Kirby now into the pit lane as well? Let's see where they rejoin. In fact, the top 9 are all covered by 30 seconds because of the pit stops for those front 3. They were running away from the rest of the field, but now they've stopped. It's all different. Michael Locke is into pit lane with 40 minutes to go, but where is Kirby going to come out? The man with the fastest lap so far in this race, 120.8. There is the Cadillac, still sat there, and now goes. Second of 3 pit stops this afternoon complete for Dan Kirby, and Herlock is not far away through turn 1, and he's going to get through here, is he? Herlock's going to be very close as they come out the pit lane. Oh, he's going to be through just about. It's a long pit exit here, and so Herlock's going to be back through again. It's a topsy-turvy race in hypercar, I've got to say, Ross. These front 3, though, are definitely all in the conversation for this race win.
It has been topsy-turvy all over the field. I can't believe how aggressive it's been. I mean, the GTs have sort of taken a step back and let these hypercars really just have all the action. Although, unfortunately, especially for that guy on screen that Kirby's going around there, Stephen Miller, he managed to have his own excitement as he went for that roller coaster ride earlier. But yeah, like Alexander McQuarrie, looks like he had another incident where he pulled neutral and then shifted into a lower gear, overriding the shift protection and blowing his engine for, I believe that's the 3rd time now this season. After having a very strong performance, he was catching up to Adam Gray and putting some pressure on, and unfortunately that's another race kind of thrown in the trash. So got to feel for that guy on that one. He's got to figure that out.
Sorry, I didn't catch the name. Who was that who blew the engine?
Oh, McQuarrie, Alexander McQuarrie in the white and blue Aston Martin Vantage.
I think you did say that, but I didn't catch it. So sorry. Yeah, that's 3rd place in the GT3. I'm getting older. Ears don't work. Anyway, out onto the back straight again for Kerlock. Kirby getting up to speed after that pit stop. It's just taking him a bit of time. Where's Cameron Parker gone? Now 30 seconds off the rest. So that's a very long stop for him. He's now actually behind Magnus Dahlgren, who is about to get up to 4th place. Not sure Dahlgren stopped for a second time, though. We'll have to get confirmation of that. It's got Kesby in 3rd, and he's no longer battling away either with anybody. Robin Moling has dropped down to 10th, so I wonder whether he's had a bit of damage here. Maybe Dahlgren has stopped and he's racing his way into this one, but yeah, it's a big change. I don't know if any of you have seen what happened to Barker or indeed Moling, but they both seem to be a long way down the field. I don't think we have anything for the moment, so just over 2 seconds the gap for the lead, but unfortunate here, Tom, that we've lost our 3rd member of the battle for the lead.
Yeah, it's a shame. And Barker's just only coming to the rear of Magnus Dahlgren for 4th place, so let's see if he can dispose of him very quickly, but his chances of going for the win are pretty much dashed. I don't know if he's lost time in the pit lane when he was pitting in, but when I saw someone box, and it almost looked like he almost mixed in with someone else's box. We saw it briefly in picture when someone came into the pits and almost
Well, let's review his pit stop just to be sure. They fly in, don't they? But there was nothing wrong with that, I don't think. He looked like he was down to pit speed to me. Pulls into his rather early box, and his box sharing friend is already in pit lane, taking tyres on the right and the left, I'd imagine, on both sides. And then we'll come back out onto the circuit in a moment. You can see the time display just to the right-hand side of the rear right tyre there. That was just changed. Is this anything unusual you've seen so far, Ross? Looks pretty normal to me.
No, although I will say that Ben Kesby, when he was having his stop, it looked like he pulled into one of the Aston Martin Valkyries, and there was a bit of an improper release into the side of him, so we'll see if that's done any damage to his car after he's taken his stop. And it looked like Guilherme Bank just had a crash about a lap ago through that sector 2, where he just kind of spun on his own and hit the wall pretty good.
Okay. We'll try and look back at Banks' incident as well, because yeah, he's now properly outside the top 5 for a driver who was running up towards the front all day. There's a bit of traffic for Cameron Barker as he tries to regain some of these places again. Magnus Dahlgren just up in front of him here in the Toyota. That's a lap down Toyota for Bice in with him. Could be 4 wide here if they're not careful. Either side of the Ferrari. Barker through the middle, including a lap car, and Dahlgren doesn't want to give it up. They bump and barge and Barker's off the circuit. That looked a little bit rude. There wasn't quite the space given there by Dahlgren. Barker has to slow down on the exit. He wasn't quite allowed the space there by Dahlgren, who is legitimately fighting for that 4th place. Still a mystery as to how he's got there, but that's separate. He just didn't give the space there, Dahlgren, through turn number 1. And Barker's got to try it all over again, Tom.
Yep, I want to get a replay of that battle going into the center S. It felt to me like Dahlgren had just pushed Barker off the road. So you can just see that, yeah, it felt like he delayed his steering just to... because he didn't want to give the space to Barker on the outside, because Barker would have had the higher ground into 2. But yeah, that was rather naughty from Dahlgren.
Yeah, I think he just broke too late, to be honest. I don't think he intentionally did it. He broke too late. But intentional or not, I don't think, shouldn't be allowed. Here's the slow-mo with the inputs on the front. He's steaming in here, isn't he? He's going a bit too quickly on the inside.
He's back behind. You're supposed to be at the driver's head with your front axle by the turn-in point, which they're kind of past. So I'm sure Barker's going to be complaining about that post-race to get a penalty on him.
Do you be complaining about that post-race if you were on the receiving end of that? Is that,
I would probably have some stern words. I don't know if I'd file for it, but it's that's me. I mean, it's the type of thing that certainly the stewards would say, if when in doubt, file it out. So I don't always ascribe to that if it hasn't really had a detrimental effect on my own race, but that's just me. I don't know.
Because you're not a vengeful guy. You don't want to rock the boat if not necessary. So there we go. We'll respect that. But we'll see whether Barker does the same at the end of this race. He might get through anyway here. It might not have too much of an effect. I still think Barker's going to finish 3rd, to be honest with you. He's got more than half an hour to get ahead of Dahlgren here, and Kesby as well, who has jumped onto the podium places in the meantime after the latest round of hypercar pit stops. Around the outside through turn 11. Oh, and Barker can't quite get past as well. So he's going to have to wait for a little bit later. But he's just got to put it to the back of his mind now, Tom. He can't afford to let that cloud his thoughts as he tries to make another pass on Dahlgren. As we said, you worry about that at the end of the race if it needs protesting or whatever. Just worry about getting the position on the circuit for now is all he can do. And Barker is going to try and do that outside line again at turn 1. He's given a bit more space this time, and he's going to run it round the outside this time, inside of turn 2. And that's how to do it through the Center S.
Yep, and finally getting his own back on Magnus Dahlgren. Cameron Barker, who's through at last, and he's now got Ben Kesby next up the road, only less than a couple of seconds. There's a car off in the background. I think that must be Mike Boyce, is it? Yeah, it's Mike Boyce who's gone off at the Curve de Sol when he was lapping what looked like a GT. It might have been David Yunt, actually. He was going through around the outside off the runner for it. Yeah, he had to go off the racetrack, really, which is not necessarily within the rules, really, going off the circuit to pass another car, but he's in a faster machine compared to what David Yunt is in.
Is that, Ross, something you can get a warning for, by the way? I read out the penalties at the start of today, and Carl Struel had a warning for using the off-track area to pass a lapped car. I guess that's the exact sort of situation that kind of thing is referring to.
Yeah, you definitely can get in trouble for that. Usually when it's across classes like you're seeing there, no one's really going to file too much on that. It looked like he just got the wrong line. I don't think he really was taking advantage too much, particularly like if in some of those cases he wasn't passing for position. I don't think it shouldn't have been, but I think for that particular penalty that was dished out for the beginning of this race, that was for position where he managed to go off track and kind of got a warning for it. Typically, R Factor 2 will actually give you an immediate penalty and say, hey, you just passed somebody when you would normally be getting points for a cut track or track extension, so you need to give that position back now, or you're going to start getting some severe penalties coming your way.
Yeah, it's does have its own policing system, RF2, so maybe that will take its course We don't know for the moment. Cameron Barker, meantime, is going to really have a fight on here to get his podium place back. Ben Kesby right up in front here. Oh, through the double right-hander at Ferratura, and here comes Dahlgren. He's going to be rather blocked in there. Oh, and side-to-side contact there with the 174. That's Ilko Busink, who's leading, by the way, in GT3 ahead of JT Tammy. Could become our third different winner in GT3 this season, because it's either been JT Tammy or David Yunt so far out of the rounds, the 7 rounds we've had. And maybe we're going to get a third different winner if Busink can hold on. It'd be a great result for him if he can. But we'll get Jamie's thoughts on that in a moment. But I just want to have a look at this battle towards the end of the front straight, because surely Cameron Barker is going to be going through here. With half an hour to go, we're approaching the final third of this race, and anyone pitting from now will be able to go to the end of the race pretty much in any class, with the maybe exception of Hypercar. As Barker gets to the outside line in one of those Hypercars. Oh, and again, he's shoveled out wide to the outside of turn 1. Tom, he'll be getting a feeling of deja vu a little bit there.
Yeah, well, at least Kesby gave him more room than Dahlgren did when Dahlgren sent one up the inside. But let's see how it plays out. Oh, you can see Kesby going very early to defend on Barker, as Barker gets a wheel on the grass almost, round the outside at Interlagos, and that is Cameron Barker through ahead of the Ferrari. Nicely done there by Barker.
That was nicely done, and Dahlgren can't go through on the way towards Ferradura either, so Barker should keep that podium place now rather comfortably. I want to go back to GT3 here, Jamie. We've still got you alongside us, GT3 driver this season, and it has been a two-man show really. JT Tammy and David Yunt, although they're second and fourth here today, and Ilko Busink is leading the way. It's great to see that class being shaken up a little bit, although it's taken us 8 rounds to do it.
It is, yeah. JT and David have been putting on quite the clinic this year. It looks like Ilko Busink just has a little bit more in that Aston Martin today. His best lap is almost 0.6 better than Tammy's best lap. So I think Tammy's met his match today. This might be Busink's if he can keep it clean. And with what we've seen today, that is a very, very big if.
Yeah, with what we've seen this season as well, it would really be a turn up for the books. I mean, they finished first, and it's not only the fact that it's somebody else winning, they finished first and second, those two, every time. Ilko Busink has not really had the season that he would have wanted, i.e. he's not been here for most of the rounds. He hasn't had a top 5 yet either in the 3 rounds he has attended. So, yeah, it's a real shake-up. But what do you think it's down to? Maybe it's just the circuit that he's getting on with a little bit more, or is it? Do you think it's a good performance by him, or is it JT Tammy and David Yunt a little bit off colour compared to normal today that is sort of the reason behind it?
I think this is probably just a really good track for Busink. JT Tammy and David Yunt always put in a ton of practice time. These guys always show up ready to race and ready to race hard. So I think Busink may have just unlocked something there that Tammy wasn't able to in the Aston, and he's just driving away from him. But I think we still have one more pit stop in these GT3 cars, so it could be interesting. I mean, JT and David Yunt could still get up there and finish one too.
Yeah, it's true. Especially with David going so long in that first stint. He might have something up his sleeve for the second as well. Here is Kesby versus Dahlgren again. And Robin Moling, despite losing time in that pit stop, is closing in on these two right now for 4th, as Kesby again forced to go on the defensive. Down in towards turn number 1. Dahlgren looks to the outside, can't do it. Oh, and the Peugeot in the background. Tried to get involved. That's a lapped Peugeot. I think it's Vinicius Gonçalves. He's second place in Hypercar AM, and he's gone for a spin. He will keep second for the moment, but it was a big stack up there, Tom, and he just went around.
I don't think it was Gonçalves. I think it was Gilles Lalonde who's been in the wars so much today. Yeah, that is the... Oh, it was Gonçalves.
Oh,
yeah,
George.
Who,
almost got
that was very lucky as well not to rejoin into the path of that car there, that hypercar. Maybe... Angela, yep, so that'll be... that may be something for the stewards to look at after the race, because we have seen a number of rejoin or unsafe rejoins in this race.
Yeah, that was one of them anyway. George Antolidis there, forced to take avoiding action in the Acura, as Dahlgren again looks down the inside. Before it all kicks off again in Hypercar, Ross, did you have any thoughts to add to Ilko Busink maybe on the way his season's been going so far, and where this performance has come from this afternoon for him?
Oh, he's got a new car. He was originally driving the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, for the first half of the season. And just like with his hypercar rookie monster teammates, he gave it a good show and tried his best to make it work. But I think just the Aston Martin, it's a front engine car, so you have all that weight at the front, but it has an almost exactly 50-50 weight distribution, so you don't have sort of that that offset that you get with some of the, as Jerry Chen would say, the butt backwards slot cars of like the Porsche 992 or the Ferrari, where you have that weight on the rear tires, and as you go through the stint, the tires heat up, you get a lot more rear pressure. If you aren't used to setting up your car and driving that type of car in a very specific way, it can really be a detriment over a stint. He could be very quick early on, but as those tires started to wear, particularly that rear end pressure, it would just become very evil. And now he's got a nice even distribution. He can really push the Aston Martin. It's a more subtle, kind of supple ride. So he's really able to work with that a lot more, and that's really helped him have a lot of success here today.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't know that he'd switched car. Maybe we have indeed got to the bottom of how he's just outperforming his previous performances by so much here today compared to what he's managed previous in 2025. He's going to get his first top 5, I'm pretty certain of that. And he might get his first win of the season as well to go along with it. Magnus Dahlgren, meanwhile, continues to attack Ben Kesby. And in the background, you can see the Valkyrie of Robin Moling involved now as well, Tom. It's a 3-car battle for 4th place. Kesby's been very much on the defensive in this third stint of the race.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you can see Robin Moling, who's been setting fast up after fast up after fastest up. I think there was one moment in the race where he actually set the best lap time out the whole field in this. He's absolutely flying in this latest stint. But he's now got Dahlgren and Kesby in the way. You can just see a brake meter board languishing in the middle of the road, which won't be best pleasing to the drivers. But the battle for 4th is still intensifying between Kesby. Moling got on the grass, nearly out of shape, and somehow has got through on Dahlgren at Ferradura.
Well, that was a miracle that he even kept it on the road, never mind getting through as well. But he's managed to pass Dahlgren. Robin Moling's back into the top 5 as well. I must admit, Ross, I've not particularly, or didn't particularly follow in the first hour or so Magnus Dahlgren's race, but all of a sudden, at the start of stint 3, he popped up in the top 5 and he's holding his own. He's just slipped out of it now, but he somehow has stealthed his way up into the top 5 conversation here.
Yeah, as you and Tom were kind of going through and looking at some of those early drivers, both in Hypercar AM and at the front of the field, Dahlgren really wasn't much of a factor. He was just kind of keeping quiet and out of everybody's hair in the background. But I kind of went back through and looked at his laps. He really hasn't had too much hold up with traffic compared to some of the other drivers. He hasn't had too much one-on-one combat, so he's really kept his nose clean, had good pit stops, and that's put him in a really good position coming into what's going to be like the final third of this race.
I'm not sure what the... oh, that's close. I think actually we're just seconds away from getting to that 1/4 distance. It's 22.5 minutes, a quarter of an hour and a half. I don't know. Anyway, somewhere there. Something like that. into the middle sector anyway for these two. Kesby versus Moling are going to resume their battle again here. This time for 4th place. On board with the Valkyrie, and yeah, well we were. There's a brief moment. What a great sound it makes as well. 22 minutes. There we go. We'll just sit on this onboard all race now. We just listen. We don't need commentary. Just sit here and listen to it. It's fantastic. Out now through turn 11 and in towards the final corner at Junshao. Is there going to be a chance for Moling in towards turn number 1 here? Oh, not quite with a slide like that coming out of the final corner. It's such an important corner on this circuit, Tom. You need the run out of there, not least because it's a long straight. It's also uphill as well. You're going to struggle to make an overtake at that distance.
Yep. And he's not close enough to have an attempt on Kesby this time around, is Moling, so he'll just perhaps needs to wait another time around before he decides to send one up the inside. Cameron Barker, since he got by Kesby, is now 10 seconds clear of him, but he's got another 24 seconds to make up in the fight for the win between Dan Herlock and Dan Kirby. Well, this is going to come down to the last round of pit stops. Can Kirby complete an undercut on Herlock to take victory here in Brazil?
Absolutely. The only South American round, by the way, in the Virtual World Sportscar Championship 2025. Next round will be coming to you from Circuit of the Americas as we take on a double American leg. Circuit of the Americas to come next. Not everyone's favourite. Must be said. Indianapolis to come after that. 100 laps round there. It's going to be a fairly long ordeal as well. And then you've got 90 minutes at Fuji, 100 laps at Road Atlanta, and 2 hours at Bahrain to end the season. Lots of different track types involved in there. But what's your outlook, or what would be your outlook going into the COTA race, Jamie, if you were driving? I'm not sure if you're going to be at that round or not, but it's certainly a love it or hate it sort of track.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about COTA yet, but it's definitely a hate it track for me. Just can't stand it. You know, to be honest, I just can't stand it. But, you know, some of these guys, they do love it. And there are some parts of the track that does have really good flow. But I think we're going to see maybe some more chaos, like we usually do at Spa, because of the long straights. We're going to have such a crazy closing speed, and then in the technical sections. So it could be another one. It looks like Matthew Bice's DNF. Dan Hurlot just lapped James Walker again and got pretty squirrely on corner entry there. So these guys are still pushing 10-10.
Oh. What has gone on for Bice here? He's just pulled off the side of the circuit.
Has he had an engine blow or something? Or the gearbox has gone?
Maybe some form of, mechanical. Let's try and go inboard here. Listen, I don't know. There's certainly damage to that front right. You can see a bit of crinkling here from this view. Not sure. Doesn't look like he's got any power. Maybe he's run out of fuel. He's just past the pit lane. Maybe he meant to pit that lap and he has run out of fuel. But he's got no... if he hasn't got it... Oh, no, he's set off again now. And now he's going to join Kimi Räikkönen off the escape roads here. He's going to get lost. That's the end of that by looks of things. That looks like a weird one to me, Ross. I can't quite work out what's going on there.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a hardware malfunction that he's having to struggle with. That's usually what that's like. If somebody doesn't just immediately go back into pit road or just off the track, they're trying to deal with something like that. Either he lost force feedback or, you know, his range got funky, something like that.
A little bit bizarre, but unfortunate end to what was a good race, actually, for him, alongside his brother. We've still got Mike Boas in the race, but he is a couple of laps down now. Vinicius Gonçalves is leading in Hypercar AM, but I won't do a full run through because it's all going to be up in the air between now and the finish line, which is just 18 minutes away as the final pit stops of the day continue to come through. We haven't seen, I don't know any of them actually in GT3, whether we've actually had any of the final pit stops in GT3 yet. We've certainly not had all of them in Hypercar yet either, but there is the Hypercar AM standings with Gonçalves leading at the moment, ahead of Monnier and then Meyer. Then it's Chen and Benk to round out the top five. Oh, Moling! He's just got into the side of one of the Aston Martins. Now, which one was that? And was that the race leader overall in GT3? It was Overton. No, okay. But that was a pretty strong slap on the side of that Aston Martin. There you go, bang. That's friendly fire there. Aston Martin on Aston Martin, Ross, and you've got to be careful with stuff like that as a prototype driver. Slammed straight into the side of the GT.
Yeah, Matthew, well, first of all, yeah, to your point, the damage that you can incur is it in itself, it's just not something you want to have. But Matthew Overton has just been a whipping boy for this entire race. I've seen him get mauled by almost every hypercar in this field, it seems like. And he's not going to be happy coming out of this, I can tell you that. The IRRs are going to fly.
Poor guy. So some days are just like that, aren't you, when you're in a race, whether it's multi-class racing or single-class racing. Some days you just get battered from pillar to post. That's the way it is. Side by side, meantime, in the middle sector, Moling tries to get around the outside of the first part to get the inside of Ben Kesby for the next. He is properly giving this a go, Tom, and again not able to find his way through.
Yep, well, he may as well wait until the pit straight to make his move here. It was very ambitious to go around the outside into turn 8, but now if he can just get a sweet exit through Yunsao and all the way up the hill, he should be within range to get the overtake done, but he used a little too much curb on the exit of Yunsao, so that should maybe give Kesby a little bit of breathing space. But Molin's decided to change tack.
He's in pit lane for Robin Moling. So then, I suppose Dan Herlock, actually. Sorry, I'm looking at the timing screen on the left-hand side. Herlock also into pit lane at the moment, and he's back out the other side, actually. So already made his stop. 16 minutes to go, and it's now up to Kirby to pit and get out in front of Herlock, or indeed get close enough so that he can battle for the race win here in the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo in the final, 15 minutes of the 90. It is going to be Herlock, though, with the heavier car, and he's going to have up to speed on the outlap. These are crucial moments in any race, Jamie. These higher fuel loads and colder tyres as you get back out onto the circuit. If you've changed them, these outlaps are so crucial when you're racing somebody but who you're not quite wheel to wheel with, but you're on the same strategy as them.
Oh, for sure. And I think with 15 minutes left in the race, I don't think you can change tires. I think at this point, you keep what you have. There's no way. You can't go out on the track on cold tires and expect to have a good race to the end with 15 to go. We have started to see our GT3 leaders pit. We've had Ilko Busink come in 2 laps ago. JT Tammy has inherited the lead. He has not come to the pits yet. I wonder if he will this time by. And David Yunt is still out there. Hasn't pitted yet. Gotta wonder if these guys are fuel saving. Oh, asked and answered. JT Tammy into the pits this time. So really starting to shake up in GT3.
Okay, so JT Tammy is going to be stopping for the final time today. Dan Kirby is as well. There's Tammy in pit lane, but further up the road, Kirby is as well, and he's coming out the pit lane now. The rejoin happening now, and there's Herlock on the left-hand side. It's going to be super close again between these two in the order, but it's going to be Kirby who leaves the field out, and there's a Peugeot in the middle of them as well. He's going to flash the lights there, Herlock. Get out of the way, please, and let's have a leading battle. The Peugeot goes a little bit wide as Kirby slips past the lap car on the way through turn 5. Herlock still in behind. He's only got a second here, Tom, but he's 14 minutes to do it as well, but he needs to pass that Peugeot quickly.
Yeah, well, at least they're a lot closer. Herlock nearly dropping it. There was contact between and the 48 Peugeot going through turn 8. That so nearly could have ended in tears. But Herlock lives on to fight another day, and now he can focus his attention on Dan Kirby for the net race lead.
That was super close. Well, he did try and stay out the way there, but he got in the way because he was trying to stay out the way. That was the problem. But anyway, that's why you shouldn't pull out off the line. Never mind. Me and James will continue our argument after the stream about blue flags. But personally, for me, pulling out the way actually caused that. But anyway, never mind. Kirby versus Herlock, that's the fight we're going to focus on. Kesby will not be involved. He's just pitted now. 13 minutes to go. And he will not be a feature for the race win. He might get a podium, but I think even that's going to be a stretch for him to defend. It's going to be a grandstand finish, it looks like, Ross. 13 minutes to go. Herlock with a second to catch and then a pass to make for the win.
None of these battles are over yet for sure, and it looks like we're going to be it's going to be it for the pit stops coming up here. We just saw Kesby go in, I think, unless I was looking at something that happened earlier. But yeah, Gilles Lalonde is having some fun over on the Senna S's. I'm looking at the GT class. They're pretty spread out, but I'm trying to go back and figure out when Junt took the lead from Ilko Busink, because he's up there, and I don't know if there's maybe a pit stop offset. Ben Kesby is a penalty.
Yeah, Ross, it's the pit stop cycle. So Busink and Tammy have both pitted, and Junt has yet to make his final stop.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so still waiting for that final stop of the day down there in GT3. We'll go back to them if indeed it starts to fire off down there, but for now there's not. Oh! One of the Aston Martins! One of the Aston Martins off the road down there through turn 5. Just saw it in the background as Molin goes down the inside of George Angelidis, isn't it, in the Acura, who he just passes, and now Dahlgren's going to do the same round the outside through the middle sector here. This is so tricky. This is what we talked about at the top of the day. Don't battle yourself through here too much, and indeed there it is. There's Matthew Overton, who's picked himself out of the grass there, Tom, and he's back out onto the circuit. It was a wild spin in the background.
And look at the front end of his bonnet there. It looks like he's had a lot of markings done on the bonnet. And there we see Matt Overton. How has he managed to drop it here?
Yeah.
He's hit the curb and then just refused to get off the throttle.
You're right, Tom. That's that damage is what I was talking about earlier, from where he's just been abused all day long, and his tires are showing it too. That's definitely coming from that. Just they're worn out. Touch the curb, around he goes.
Dazed. You just have days like that. You're battered from pillar to post, and that very much it feels like. I find especially when I've not done very much driving in the lower class that is being lapped. Certainly not as much as you, Jamie. But some days it does feel like all of those prototypes coming past you are against you. Surely.
Oh, absolutely. Some days you're the bug, some days you're the windscreen. Today, Matthew Overton is the windscreen. Or, you know what I mean. He's had quite the day.
Which way around is that thing?
Shattered.
That's the way that it is. And unfortunately for Overton, he is he is not having a good day, which is a shame. Every time I see him go off, though, I keep thinking it's one of the top two who have fired themselves off the circuit, which is fooling me and has done almost every time. At 1.1 seconds, actually 9/10 of a second now, as Herlock closes in on Kirby. 10 minutes to go, and David Yunt, by the way, still hasn't come in. He's got 13 seconds to Bussing to hold on to if he's going to fuel save to the finish. I still have my doubts personally, but you never know. There goes Dahlgren, and Boyce just in front. Oh, slides and hits Dahlgren, who skips past in that Toyota rather nicely through the first chicane. 6/10 of a second it briefly got down to for the race lead there, by the way, as Kirby continues to get out front. Kesby is now third. I didn't think he'd be coming out third, actually, but he's ahead of Barker. But now look at this. Kirby versus Herlock. This is going to be a grandstand finish here, Tom. 9 minutes to go means at least 6 laps remaining, maybe 7 to go here.
Depends on how quickly they can get through the back markers, because we've seen so many of which they've had to get by. But it's far from over. Kirby and Herlock, the two championship protagonists, you could say, are going at the race win every single time whenever they are racing. But this is a blockbuster stuff we are seeing here in Sao Paulo, heading through the CNRS with 9 minutes remaining. And I really cannot wait to see, can Dan Herlock find a way back through? Has he got anything left inside him to snatch it away from Dan Kirby right in the dying embers of this?
Can he manage this in the final 9 minutes? It's going to be a grandstand finish between the two. It absolutely is. And same. Oh, it's what a slide! A big save for Herlock. Huge save from Herlock out of the fourth corner. Now through Ferradura. And hello, there's Overton again. No, that's not Overton, is it? That's number 97. That's JT Tammy. 6 seconds behind Bussing only. And David Yunt's still out there. 8 minutes to go here, Jamie. I'd be nervous if I was Bussing, to be honest, because we know Yunt has gone very long on fuel. He's still got a long way to go, though, surely.
He has, but I wrote the one-stopper off earlier. I wonder if he's figured out the target fuel number and he's going to pull this off. He still has a decent lead back to Bussing in second, so he can still do some fuel save. But, boy, I don't know. I would sure be sweating this one stop at this track.
Yeah, and Yunt is now in. So he's finally given it up. I think I've said that. I've done that both times. I've wondered whether he'll do one stop, and both times I've said it, he's pitted. So there you go. 2-stop race for him. Herlock with a bit of traffic between himself and Kirby, and a bit of traffic that stays out the way there. The Aston Martin, they clearly don't have anything to fight for, and they're going to let the leaders through here on a bit more GT3 traffic. There is a bit of space now, though, opening up in front of them here, as Ryan Pulbert Reyes is next in line once they get past these two, and they're going to do it by the middle sector. It's a clear middle sector here, Tom, for these two, and a clear lap or two now for these hypercar leaders before the end of the race, which is surely going to be very busy indeed.
And this is going to be a replay. I think this is Benkert, who's had a spin at Desida de Largo, gets on the curb, doesn't get off the throttle when he should have done, and that's a big whack head-on into the tyre barrier.
It was. And he can't get back going again. This is Lalonde in the final corner. He's had a pretty miserable day. Slides on the entry and spins into the side of Zhengxiao. Hopefully got his name written on the side of his car as well. I wish that'd be helpful if everybody did that. Anyway, onto the front straight again. Herlock just losing a few temps this time round. At last lap, the times were half a second in favour of Kirby. 0.4 to 0.9 in the 122s. This time around, it's another 0.5 from Kirby and a 0.6 from Herlock. So he's quicker on himself, but still slower than Kirby, and still a second or so apart. at the moment. 6 minutes to go. And we've got a battle for the lead in Hypercar AM as well, Tom. Moyne versus Gonçalves to the finish as well.
This is a nice battle for the Hypercar AM win between Monet and Gonçalves. Jerry Chen is a further 19 seconds back from this battle as Monet puts a wheel on the grass at Yunsao. And they're going to be coming up behind Boyce, I believe. Mike Boyce, that is, who is a lap down from these two. So he won't want to get in the way of these as Gonçalves looks to find a way through. Does he go to the inside? No, he has to go to the outside. Out breaks Monet into the centre S. Monet gets on the curb and Gonçalves is through.
Great pass. Great pass from Vinicius Gonçalves. And he's into the lead of Hypercar AM with just 5 minutes to go. 5 minutes of the 90 remain. And it's a change for the lead in Hypercar AM. Gonçalves round the outside through the first part, gets the inside at the second. I mean, in any car, Jamie, that is impossible to do, seemingly. But Gonçalves managed that and made it look easy.
Yeah, that was a really impressive move there from Gonçalves. Great racing between him and Moyne. And also heads up by Moyne to see him and not just drive him right off the side of the track there.
Yeah, we have seen that today as well, unfortunately. So great respect shown between the two of them. Ben Kesby has lost a lot of time in the meantime. He's down to 6th in Hypercar. And he was on the podium, so Cameron Barker now will take that place. Robin Mollings up to 4th. And Magnus Dahlgren will get his top 5 at the end of it all. Having quite a quiet day, but an effective day for him so far. 4 minutes to go now, Ross, and it looks like Kirby has got this one under control, but one bit of traffic and it could go the other way. It's still not quite settled in either hypercar class right now.
Oh yeah, you can't call it with 2 seconds of difference between the two with as much traffic and action as we've seen today. I mean, they could be half a lap apart and you could even for sure say that it was over yet. But quick note on Kesby there, he finished serving his drive-through, which dropped him back. Really unfortunate to see that happen to him after he put in such a good run battling between Gutierrez, Dahlgren, Molling just throughout the entire race. So just a shame for him.
Absolutely. Well, how many laps are going to be remaining as the leaders come up towards the line? Looks like 3. With 3.5 minutes to go, 3 laps remain. James Walker is next in line to be lapped. Stephen Miller is not too far in the distance either. And so both of those leaders are going to have to come through on GT3s here, Tom. But it does look like Kirby's got this one under control. Gonçalves certainly hasn't, though. Eric Mounier very much still right behind him.
Yeah, it's far from over in the Hypercar AM race for the win. It feels like it's the closest battle. I mean, JT Timmins closing in slightly on Basing, but I think Basing's got enough in hand to hold Tammy back. As for Greywell, he's got nearly a whole minute on Stephen Miller, who's had his own troubles today. And, well, he's just getting a little bit of ground on the likes of Maya and McCreary in the race for the GT3 AM class. But Dan Kirby, what a performance he has put on so far.
Looks like it's going to be a victory for him, but we absolutely cannot call it yet. Kirby and Herlock 1 and 2 in this championship. Kirby looking for 4 on the bounce here, by the way. A problem a little bit for Herlock, and why he's 42 points behind has been the consistency, actually, when he's not won this season. He's only finished second twice in those occasions, both times to Daniel Kirby. In fact, one of the two have won every round, so that does make sense. It's podiums on the bounce. He's starting to get it together now, Herlock, but Kirby is just getting on a good run of race wins, and there's not much you can do about that. He won at Qatar, Le Mans, and Watkins Glen, and it looks like Rossi's going to win for a 4th time in a row, but he's got to hang on for 2 more laps here.
He's that gap is staying pretty steady around like 1.6, 1.7. I think Kirby's even opening up just a little bit, so Herlock might be kind of winded, or at least his tires are coming through to the end of here. But like you said, I mean, with just a couple laps left to go, you can't write anything off. As long as there are cars up in front of you, as you see, there's one of those hypercar AMs. It might be Guilherme or one of his teammates. You know, you can't say for sure anything. It only takes one car, one little misstep, just slowing up a little bit, and suddenly, you know, you've got Herlock's nose right up your inside, and you got a problem on your hands.
Well, absolutely. The time ticks away. 1 minute just about still to go. And Herlock just made a mistake through the middle sector as well. It grows out to over 2 seconds. There isn't even very much more traffic now to deal with. There shouldn't be any, actually. Maybe one car on this lap if they get there in time. But looks like it's going to be a formality for Kirby now. Certainly less so for Gonçalves, who's got Eric Meunier right behind him. And they'll be coming onto the front straight fairly shortly to start their last lap as well. And that's probably your best chance down towards turn 1 for Meunier to get through, if indeed it is possible. Not sure whether they're just coming through the middle part of the circuit at the moment, so they will we'll get to them towards the end. But it's been a great drive from Kirby here, Tom. It's been 2 seconds the gap at the end between himself and Herlock, but Kirby has just about edged this one to take 4 in a row, it looks like.
Yeah, he's just got by the Hypercar AM car there. He's out of the way, and he's got a free run to the checkout. There's no more back markers he has to contend with. It's just keeping the car on the black stuff, and he should be able to bring that Cadillac home ahead of Dan Herlock, who gave it his all today. Let's be honest, he's given it his all, but Dan Kirby was just too good. He's outsmarted in the strategy phase of this, and it's going to be a 4th win in a row, and what a day to celebrate for him. It's been a hard works evening for Dan, but of course he's going to be celebrating long into the night after this.
He's going to be very, very pleased with his drive once again as he comes now out of the final corner at Junshao. It's going to be Cadillac again, the manufacturer that has won every single one of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship rounds in 2025 is going to win again, and it's Dan Kirby for the 4th race in a row. He takes the checkered flag at Sao Paulo to win the 90-minute race just in front of Daniel Herlock, who he fought all the way throughout that one. Further behind, Cameron Barker is going to be on the podium in the 3rd position. There is Elko Busink, who's just in behind Gonçalves versus Meunier. And it looks like, Tom, that Gonçalves has just got this gap on the last lap with that bit of traffic.
Yeah, and he should be fine from here, I'd have thought, Gonçalves, as he goes through Bica de Pato. And it's going to be a Hypercar AM win for him, ahead of Meunier, with Jerry Chen finishing on the podium once again and having a consistent season so far. But what a drive also from Ilko Busink, winning out in the GT3s by a few seconds over JT Tammy.
Absolutely. Vinicius Gonçalves, though, comes across the line now in that Peugeot to win in Hypercar AM after that great pass in towards turn 1 on Eric Meunier towards the finish there. He wins at Sao Paulo. He takes his 2nd win of the season and the 1st since Imola early on in the spring. It's now late summer and he's winning again, Vinicius Gonçalves. As you say, Ilko Busink, I'm not sure has he crossed the line yet, but he is going to win in GT3. Now he has crossed the line just in the last couple of moments. Ilko Busink wins in the Aston Martin, and it's by about a few seconds at the line. JT Tammy finishes 2nd, and Adam Gray wins in the GT3 AMS. That is very important for him in the championship. 4th place coming into today, just 34 points behind McQuarrie, who retired in the end, as did Peter Meyer. Stephen Miller finished behind him in 2nd, so that's a good day for Gray as he moves up the field. Let's have a look at the final results at the end of 90 minutes from Sao Paulo, and it's Daniel Kirby who wins Hypercar just in front of Daniel Herlock in the end to make it 4 in a row. Cameron Barker rounds out the podium, with Robin Moling putting the Aston Martin on debut into 4th. Magnus Dahlgren was the best of the Toyotas in 5th, ahead of the best Ferrari, Ben Kesby in 6th. Johnny Gutierrez, Michael Lock, Daniel Scott and Timo Suvic rounded out the top 10. Tom Lane and Wouter de Bruin were next ahead of Vinicius Gonçalves, the Hypercar AM winner. He finished ahead of Eric Meunier and Jerry Chen, who were also on the podium. Alexander Schultz finished 2 laps down in the end, alongside John Mayer and George Angelidis. Guillaume Bank and Mike Buss round out the top 20. 21st in the end went to Gilles Lalonde, who ended up 4 laps down, just in front of Elko Busink, who wins in GT3, the first different winner other than JT Tammy and David Young, although they were both still on the podium. James Walker and Ryan Pulbert Reyes rounded out the top 5, with Alan Holden and Jamie Overton having difficult days further back. Adam Gray wins in GT3 AM ahead of Stephen Miller, the only other driver in that class to finish. The retirements from that one, Matthew Buss, who was kicked for latency, by the way, Peter Meyer, Carl Stroll, Vasilis Katranakis and Stacey Scott's. Missing from that list was Alexander McQuarrie, who also retired and will lose some points in his GT3 AM lead. Well, that was a fantastic race. I'll start with you, Jamie. new winner in GT3 in Oko Bussing. He's putting that new Aston Martin to good use already. And JT Tammy and David Yunt having, similarly good days as what they always have. But they, miss out today, and Bussing is a new winner.
Yeah, Ewan, it's exciting to see another driver out here taking the fight to JT Tammy and David Yunt. They've just been putting on a clinic the whole season. So it's really exciting to see somebody else out here being able to fight them. Myself and Vasilis, we just haven't been quite able to unlock the pace in the Mercedes. Looks like that Aston's really strong. But, Yunt's in the Mercedes doing really well too. Overall, this was a really exciting race through both classes, really. We had some argy-bargy, but that's to be expected with such a small track.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is. Ross, I always enjoy racing at Interlagos. I think multi-class racing is, sometimes difficult round here, but also sometimes it can work. And I think it worked today to produce a very good round of the championship.
Yeah, and that the hypercar battles were just fire the whole race long. I was hoping that we'd have a few more GTs to be able to contend with. Jamie disappointed us by breaking himself and not joining the field, but that's okay. We still have some good battles. Obviously JT and David Yunt getting kind of dethroned a little bit there with Ilko getting that car change and obviously pulling off really well. And looking through the field, all except for the GT Am, the car that won was only ahead by as much as a few seconds. So really close racing all up and down the order. Hats off to all the drivers that showed up and put in a great effort. They put on a good show all through the grid.
Absolutely. I'll get the thoughts of Tom Cairns as well before we sign off. But before that, we'll just have a chat to a couple of drivers from the race for interviews, starting with Vinicius Gonçalves, who won in Hypercar Am today. Congratulations, Vinicius, on a really great race and a fantastic pass for the win late on as well in those final few minutes. Just tell us about that pass on Eric Monet and how you managed to get that win.
Wow, man. I'm still settling down after this race. It was crazy, the pass was basically the last shot I had because I was running out of fuel. I ran out of fuel right after the finish line, so because I had that little push in the end using some fuel, using the power, and I'm still not believing I finally got to win a race on the track. After getting close at Le Mans, I got that Imola win because of a driver certification, but I finally got to win a race, and especially in São Paulo. It's not like I'm a specialist in São Paulo, but it does feel sweeter.
Yeah, I'm sure that it does. What does it mean for the rest of the season now? You're not that far away in the championship, to be honest, in third place, and you will have gained some really good points on those guys. You've not finished off the podium since Sebring, and you're on a great run. What does this mean for the rest of 2025 for you?
Well, I'll try to do race by race. Eric, Jerry, they are very fast. The whole team is very fast. So I'm trying to bite as much as possible points and see what I can do. Not trying to win the championship on the next race, but step by step, I'll try to close the gap and see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with that for the rest of the season. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
I don't know if my Brazilian team is watching the race. I sure shared their link with them, so I want to thank them. And I might have some other friends watching the stream, so thank you everybody for watching the race and supporting me. And thank you, George. Thank you guys from the broadcast for this awesome championship that we have.
Thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us, Vinicius, and congratulations on the win here tonight.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks very much. That is Vinicius Gonçalves, the winner in Hypercar Am. In Hypercar Pro, overall, was Daniel Kirby, who took 4 on the bounce and a victory here at São Paulo this afternoon. Congratulations, Daniel, on 4 on the bounce and another victory. It was a late battle between yourself and Daniel Hurlock, a thoroughly enjoyable one throughout the race as well. How confident were you going into that final pit stop of the day? You'd come out in front and hold on for the win.
Not at all, because I lost it due to getting stuck behind traffic earlier in the race, and he just kept getting much better runs through traffic than I was, and the gap kind of expanded up to like 4 something seconds. I got it back down to I think 3 at the stop, but I didn't think, because I was fuel saving a little bit more than he was, so I could go a lap longer, but I didn't think that was going to be enough, and it just barely was. I think I came out like 6-7 tenths in front of him and was able to hold on to it.
Well, absolutely, and this season now for you is turning into a real great one, 4 in a row, as I say now. How have you managed to just keep that going over the course of the last 4 rounds and just keep on coming back and winning races in the way that you have so far?
I don't know, just a lot of practice, a lot of practice, and just going into the weekend and trying to do as best as I can and see what happens. And I've been pretty fortunate, I think, to get on this good run of form, because I haven't been feeling the most confident in the car sometimes. So it's been a struggle, but we're making it happen.
Well, yeah. There's no secret. Practice is just the way to go. That's for sure. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just the usual everyone here at CMS and Herlock for the awesome race. That was really tough and really fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for chatting to us, Daniel. Congratulations again on another win.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's Daniel Kirby wins overall here tonight in Hypercar. Elko Bussink wins in GT3, and we can chat to him now as well. Elko, welcome in, and congratulations on being the 3rd different race winner in GT3 this season. Tell us how you're feeling at the end of that one.
Thank you very much. Yeah, pretty chuffed. Of course, I changed the car from last race to this one, from sadly the Lambo. For me, this feels like a sort of redemption. In the Lambo, I was nowhere. I couldn't find pace. Tires dropped off way too hard, and then with this car, it all seemed to work out a tiny bit better. And was a good race. I kept it steady at the front and controlled it like I should, I think.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that Aston Martin. You mentioned the car change there that you've had. Just what's different about the Aston Martin? How are you enjoying it so far?
Difference. The biggest difference is just the way it behaves with the tire. The tires are just they don't scream as much as on the Lambo, so you can just push a bit harder, a bit more consistent. I think I showed it at the beginning of the race where I just pushed a gap up to from JT Tammy, who by the way did a massive race, staying that close for the entire race. He kept me on edge, so that was nice. But yeah, the Aston feels good. Easy to set up, good to drive. I'm a bit of a mid-rear engine driver usually, so I don't think my setup will be appreciated by many drivers. But it's it was nice. It was enjoyable.
Congratulations on taking the win here at Interlagos today. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Shout out to Tony McCofferman for being my semi-race engineer and helping me calculate the fuel for the last stint.
Your spirit animal.
My spirit animal.
Very important part of the day. Well, congratulations, Elko, on the win, and thanks for chatting to us again after the race.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
That's Elko Bussink, the GT3 winner here tonight. Let's have a chat now to GT3 AM winner Adam Gray. Congratulations, Adam, on victory here tonight at the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo. One of 2 GT3 AMs to get to the finish for your 2nd win of the season. How are you feeling at the end of that one? 2 wins now in 3 rounds for you.
Yeah, cheers for the congratulations to me. It's warm in the UK, very sticky. Really struggled with the car with balance, but I'm glad I finished.
what does it mean for the rest of 2025 for you? Because the championship in GT3 AM is by far the closest we've got in any category. McQuarrie retired, as did Peter Meyer, the top 2 in the championship here today in GT3 AM. Is that something you're able to target before the end of 2025?
Yeah, I like to think so. If they keep retiring, then yeah, there's a good chance. I mean, Stephen Miller is a quick driver anyway, as well. I don't know what happened to him to be a lap down, I think he was, from me.
Yeah, crash.
Ah, did he? I'll watch the replay later then.
Yeah, it's quite a spectacular one. If you enjoy a spectacular crash, then that's certainly one to go to, because it definitely was. But yeah, you will have gained points certainly as a result of all of that. Well, congratulations on that, as I say, and is just shout out before we let you go.
Yeah, just to the CMS team for the hard work they put into getting these races up and running.
Thanks very much again for chatting to us, Adam. Congratulations on the win.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks so much. That's Adam Gray, the GT3 AM winner here today. First of all, before I move on, it's 18 degrees Celsius at the moment in the UK, and it is boiling. So I don't know what's... don't laugh at us, people from other countries that are warmer, but we're suffering at the moment. Anyway, Tom, your final thoughts on that race? I mean, it was 90 minutes that just flew by, to be honest. It was a superb race, really. And thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. Good to get a couple of different winners. It really had almost everything.
Yeah, that was a thriller. I really enjoyed that. It was a close finish as well between the Hypercar first and second place drivers. Well done to Adam Gray on getting that victory in the GT3 class, because that has tightened things up in the championship in that respect. But it's 4 in a row for Dan Kirby. What will he come up with in the next round?
Absolutely. 5 in a row. It would be the obvious thing to say, but can he do it? Make sure you come and join us and find out, because it is going to be a fantastic 90 minutes of Circuit of the Americas. Some of these drivers will not enjoy driving around there for an hour and a half, and that's what could make it such exciting viewing. That will be coming up next, by the way, on the 30th of August. I understand that is quite a long way away, but we do have some historic racing in the meantime. We'll actually be back next week with historic racing from Silverstone for 250 kilometres. So very much hope you can join us for that, as we take on retro cars and in many cases retro layouts as well, that are circuits, as you know today, a little bit different in terms of how their layout was about 40 years ago. Very much hope you can join us for that. We'll be on live same time, same place next Saturday with that one. For now, though, from myself, Ian O'Leary, alongside Tom Cairns, alongside special guest commentators Ross Smith and Jamie Zalecki, also camera operator, broadcast director James Parfitt this afternoon. It's goodbye from São Paulo, Interlagos, and we'll see you next time in the Virtual World Sports Car Championship Modern Series from Circuit of the Americas. Goodbye for now.